There's a flag over here.
Yep.
Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you could remain standing just for a moment. A couple local folks, for me, they were too young to pass. But that's not my calling. We have Eddie Monroe, who Eddie lived most of his life lived in Fort Montgomery. And another nice guy, great guy, Ron Labar. And then we want to remember the flood victims. We had our own flood, and it's pretty bad down there. I think there could be hundreds, if not more than that, dead. So if we could remember them, and also our men and women in the armed forces. Thank you. Okay, so it's a little different setup. I have to figure this out. But this is a workshop, so it's good that we sit like this and work and talk and go back and forth. It's just a workshop for the board. Before I get into the agenda, which is short, and then we'll do zoning discussion, just for reference and for the minutes, Heidi, when a motion is made and seconded, I call for a vote, yes or no. If you don't say yes or no, it's a yes. Okay, that's not my rule, that's the state rule. So if you don't pronounce yourself with a yes or no, you'll be counted as a yes. Okay. So, first on the agenda, resolution. Due to unanticipated revenue from New York State aid, the Board of Trustees approves an amendment to increase the appropriation budget A-7110-0400, parks contractual for $2,609, and a revenue code A3089 state aid order for $2,609 for fiscal year 24-25. May I have
Motion.
May I have a motion?
Second.
Motion by Melanie, second by Jim DeSalvo. All in favor?
Yes.
I have to do roll call, I apologize. Roll call, please.
Trustee Guerrero?
Yes.
Trustee Ramus?
Yes.
Trustee DeSalvo?
Yes.
Trustee Carroll?
Yes.
Mayor D'Onofrio?
Yes, motion carries, thank you. I don't think it's on here, but it's in your packet to approve the minutes from September 9th. I have read them. I've gone over them with Heidi. I see nothing to change. See something?
On page 4,
Okay.
just on my comments, it says that the reason to privatize the sewer plant should be water. That was all I saw.
Heidi, do you see that?
What does it say?
It says sewer, we were talking about water.
Oh, I see.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to approve as amended.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next on the agenda is a request from our police chief. Torpy recommends that the village board consider providing a handicap parking space in the area of 75 Church Street to provide some relief to a resident with a disability. This is much needed. The space would be located 71 feet 7 inches from the southwest corner of the intersection of Church Street and Homestead Avenue. If we could approve that, I think. I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Jim Ramus, second by Jim DeSalvo. All in favor?
Yes.
Just a quick question on that. This gentleman in 75 Church, does he have his own driveway? Or he doesn't?
Probably not on that side of the road.
So not So he really just parks on it, because it's pretty tight on Church.
1,000.
Yeah,
Every street.
I think, yeah, well,
okay,
I counted 30 cars on Liberty Street.
especially in the
Yesterday,
winter.
What?
yesterday morning.
I'll double check.
Next on the agenda is to approve the annual, which is a great event, started a few years ago, annual community trunk or treat, sponsored by the Chamber. It'll be on Sunday, October 27th, from noon to 4 p.m. at the Road Park Pavilion. And they'll need some police and some road closures over there, which John Jones and Chief of Police will get this tomorrow. They have submitted insurance, so they've got everything done. It's ready to go. We can approve that.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Melanie, second by Jim DeSalvo. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, there's one more thing that came in just a little while ago. I'd like to add it. This is from the United, Town of Highlands United Youth Group. They want to have something that we used to do here, not that long ago even. They want to bring it back to have a Halloween costume parade on Main Street. It would from Memorial Park, so they're going to go the opposite way, Memorial Park to Lot 2. So they're going to go north. Now, the only thing I'll say, they went to the town to get insurance, and the town told them to come here. I just want to remind politely the town that the parade is, first of all, it's being put on by the town of Highlands United Youth Group, not the village of Highlands. There is no such thing, actually. And I would encourage Fort Montgomery children to be in the parade. So it's a really town-wide event. And therefore, opinion, backed up with what I just said, I think that they should provide the insurance. So it's up to all of you what you want to do here. Whatever you decide, I'm going to vote for it.
Well, I was going to bring that up, the request. I think, the United Youth Group, it's just a great organization. It's really a short distance from Memorial to Municipal Parking Lot 2. And it's the kids getting dressed up on a parade. It's going to be a 15, 20-minute parade. The village has insurance. So I think, to require them to have a secondary insurance, it's just a hardship on the kids.
It's not a second.
It is secondary. This is what's confusing about the premiums that we pay, which is almost $250,000 a year. I spoke with our insurer. The insurance company covers parades, covers events that are held in the village by different organizations. The board can ask for a secondary insurance just to make sure that we have double cover, but it is not necessary. Once again, it's not necessary. Now, we can ask other organizations, community members who try to put things together for the community, a secondary insurance, which is usually costing them $100 to $150 an event, but it's not necessary. It is covered by the premium that the taxpayers pay every single year, okay? Which has gone from $150,000 to almost $250,000 because of the sewer fire. So what I would say to you is that
That's
is
not
not,
accurate.
yes,
Now
that is very, very
We're
accurate.
going to relate sewer.
That is super accurate.
Now, and to the,
That just happened last
that's
month.
amazing.
So what I'm telling you, back to the point. The point is a secondary insurance is not necessary because we do have our own village insurance that the taxpayers pay a premium for. So I would recommend that we give the United Youth Group a break and let the kids have a parade.
So, Mr. Mayor, and the audience, and Ms. Manning, what I would like to do as a trustee, and I think this may get us around all of this, all right? Name of event, Highland Falls Community Halloween Parade. and I would sponsor it. And being that I'm a trustee, I think that village insurance could cover it. So in the future, if you would have came to me first, I think,
I didn't do, that wasn't through me.
oh, that wasn't.
No,
Jim, let me say
the
this.
trunk or treat was.
Jim,
Oh,
let
the
me-
trunk or treat.
But yes,
Okay.
but that
Jim,
was.
let me-
And the same thing for that as well.
Well,
Okay, for the trunk or
yeah,
treat.
trunk or treat, we always put, it goes through the Chamber of Commerce, it always has
Yeah.
in all the years. So
Okay.
it was not any offense to you,
Jim,
but
let me
it's
say
always
one
been
comment.
under the Chamber of Commerce, so like do it as a dual thing.
Jim, okay. Jim,
So I'm
Jimmy.
just trying to see if we can do this.
Okay, let me say something to you and something to Melanie. I never said that our insurance couldn't cover it. Of course our insurance can cover it. Of course. I'm just bringing up that it's a town event. When it's a village event, and that person went down to the town board meeting, and somebody said, hey, you gotta go back up to the village, it's a village event. I understand that, but this is a town event. Our insurance will cover it. You're not saving, the kids aren't being saved any money, whether the town insures it or the village insures it. So a comment that can save the kids, there's nothing to say. But I appreciate what you want. Could we do it like that? I'm gonna ask
Okay,
the attorney.
I mean, I have to look into all of this.
Yeah.
My only concern with, first of all, this has been a pattern and practice for the 15 years that I've been your attorney. Secondly, even if the village is the sole liability insurance carrier for anything that happens in this village, to the extent that the event is also covered by another insurance company, that may, assuming there's liability, that may reduce the village's ultimate liability. So if there's a payout of $200,000, maybe half of it comes from the village insurance, the other half comes from, the event insurance itself. So now I'm just saying that I would have to look into that if that's true, but this has been a practice of every village that I've ever been the attorney for to require someone who's hosting an event in the village on public streets and public sidewalks and in public parks to carry insurance with the village as an additional named insured.
So can we waive it?
So let me ask you a question.
Can I just say something? The Town of Highlands Youth is not connected with the town. It is called the Town of Highlands Youth because it incorporates both the Highland Falls and Fort Montgomery children. And that's the reason, that's why it's not called the village. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to interrupt, but you're incorporating that the town, it's under the town, it's not.
It doesn't really make any sense to me whatsoever that we just approved an event from the chamber and we required them to have insurance. And now, which we all just approved unanimously. And now we're saying, it doesn't matter for another group. And I don't know how you're gonna word it where you can just make it a one-time deal. I like what Trustee Ramus is saying, but I think you go down a slippery slope. I think the town missed the boat on this completely. And they just kicked the ball down the court. Because there's no way we wanna approve the event, but there's no way we can word it where we can make just this one-time precedent for just this event without setting a precedent for everything, because then we might as well waive the insurance for the chamber. Why do they need to have it? For a trunk or treat?
They're not asking for a waiver.
No, but they submitted it.
Yeah, but they're not asking for a waiver, the United Youth.
But they
is the one
submitted it.
asking for a
But they
waiver.
submitted it.
They're
It's
not
still an
asking
expense
for a
to
waiver.
them.
The United Youth group
It's
is
still an
asking
expense
for a
to the
waiver.
organization,
The
Trustee
chamber-
Guerrero.
the
Can I
email
speak?
said-
Am I not? I'm not allowed to speak.
The email said.
I
So,
have an email right here.
Yeah,
Where does it say?
Well, I used the word waiver,
Oh,
but
you
here's
used
the
it.
word.
So I
Yeah,
want to approve the
yeah.
event. What date is the event again?
Okay. If you
What's
don't
the
wanna
date of the
waive it,
event?
That's up to you. That's up to you.
On October 31st.
If this event can be covered by village insurance, that's all. Without them buying another insurance. The kids have to put together another $150 for a 15-20-minute parade where they just want to get dressed up and parade down Memorial to Municipal Lot 2, and they're asking if the village would not ask for a secondary insurance.
For the
That's it.
record, the minutes, no one at the table that I heard, correct me if I'm wrong, said that the youth group should buy insurance. No one asked for that. No one said that up here. What the issue is that it should be covered by the town because it's a town, it's not a town function done by the town, but it's a town function to provide an event for town-wide.
All the residents of the community, all the kids of the community.
Oh, I get it. Okay, so you're trying to make an issue of the town not providing insurance.
Yeah, because
Instead, the
everybody
village
pays
providing
into the
insurance,
town
even though the
taxes.
village
Trustee
is the
Guerrero,
one
everybody
covered. Hang
pays
on,
town
hang on,
taxes.
let me
Everybody
finish my
pays town
sentence. So
taxes.
the village has insurance for any parade that occurs on village property.
Can't make it.
Memorial,
I
that
would
on Main Street from
Pending
Memorial to
insurance, I'll
Municipal
get somebody
Parking
to
Lot
find
to is a village property. Okay, so it's covered by our insurance.
Organization.
It can be just the same thing. So do I have a motion for the village to provide insurance and okay the date and time for this event, which is a Halloween parade?
You just said for the village to provide insurance, is that what you intended to say? Or
Well,
is
we
it
gotta
just
get-
to approve the
It's not,
event pending insurance?
it's not till the 31st. We have another meeting coming up, correct?
Yes, two.
And I believe the attorney said she wanted to look into it, right?
I'd like to.
So let's approve the
Wait a minute,
the
hold on a
event.
second. I'd like to motion to approve the event pending insurance, and I may be able to have an organization donate the insurance for the event. And that way, we don't set a precedent for future times that we have other organizations, and it's not a hit to the organization.
No,
The only way that all the residents would contribute into it is to come out of the A fund, and the A fund is only directed from the town. That means everybody pays into it. So,
You're getting this confused.
I'm not getting it confused.
You are.
I'm sorry if you're confused, Melanie.
Parades
Anyway,
and
that's my
events
motion.
that are
That's my
not
We
motion.
have a
happening
motion,
in the
I have a
village
motion on
are
the floor,
covered
I have
by
a
village
second.
insurance.
I have a motion on the floor, do you have it? Okay, people can
Second.
talk through a motion if they
Yeah,
want, but
no.
it's not gonna be
That's
counted.
great.
We call the-
I have a second, call roll call.
Sorry. Trustee Guerrero?
Yes, absolutely.
Trustee Ramus?
Yes?
Trustee Carroll?
Yes.
Trustee DeSalvo?
Yes.
Mayor Denofrio?
Yes, thank God. Okay, all right. Okay, now let's go and do the discussion on village zoning. Now, about village zoning. So we've been meeting, we've had public hearings.
We did that.
He already did that.
We approved that unanimously with insurance.
That was it. That's why I got.
You're not the only one. You're not the only one.
It's okay, it's enough. So we've had public hearings, we've met each other on the sidewalk, and sometimes have discussed it. Different things, I've had a couple questions, probably more than a couple for the village attorney. I've had more than that for the village engineer. And I'm sure that all of you have done somewhat of the same. And so next Monday, October 7th, is the public hearing on the proposed changes to the zoning.
The currently proposed.
The current, because something might come up tonight that'll be different, that we want to change. And we have the luxury right now of doing that. So next Monday, again, is the public hearing on either what was published in the paper, I think I have it here, or if there's a majority want to change something from tonight. And I'll leave it at that. I know we did meet with a couple of planning board members, planning board members, zoning, we've had good discussions with them, so we're trying to get educated and figure out what to do here. It's a big thing. So many people want this, so many people want that. I'll let it go there.
There's one thing that I do want changed on the introductory local law as written, okay? And that's for the Pellwood community, okay? One of the things that they have been persistently telling us is that they want that block from Walker Avenue to the Mormon Church to actually be residential.
It is that.
It's not. The way it's written, page 4 of 5, okay?
It is that.
Yeah, page 4 of 5, look at that,
Yeah.
okay? amendment to the Village Highland Falls zoning map. Specifically, the lots moved from B3 to B1, okay? So B3 currently is from Walker Avenue to the church, Mormon church. If you just change that to B1, that's not residential. Right now, the way this is worded, that's paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Paragraph number 8, okay? That's the intersection of Walker Avenue to and including the property identified on tax map section 107, block 3, lot 18.1. That's the Mormon church. So B3 currently becomes B1. Walker to the Mormon church becomes B1. That's no-go. That needs to be a residential, okay? So that needs to change. Page 4 of 5, okay? That needs to be residential, non-conforming.
So it says,
Needs to go back to where it was.
so it says the
But that's
modification,
not what it says. Put it on paper, okay? Put it on paper.
it says the modification to the zoning map enacted by local law number 1 of 2020 to rezone portions of the village located in the residential R3 zoning district to B1 zoning district is rescinded.
Thank you.
Correct.
So you're wrong.
So it's gone.
You rescinded from B3 to B1.
No.
Okay,
You don't
read that.
understand
Is that
it.
what you're saying? Okay, it says B3 to
We're
B1.
rescinding what we changed it to and putting it back to our,
You said
just said
you
it right
turned
there.
B3 to B1. This rescinds all B3, rescinds all B3, and becomes B1. So, make sure, fine, listen.
Watch this.
Listen. So we're in agreement. Everything from Dale to the Mormon church becomes R3.
I have a map up there.
Yes?
I have a
Yes.
map up there
Yes?
that may explain
Yes?
it. I'm saying, right,
Yes? Everything from Dale to the Mormon church becomes residential R3.
regurgitate
Yes.
for me, it says it in there.
so here's the map. Maybe this will help you out, doctor. Just saying,
Yeah.
because we're saying we're going to rescind it. This is the map that was set up, correct? And this is why we're over here, so we can all look at this map. This is the map that the county actually took off of their website. Because, you know why? Because we're rezoning, all right? And the zone is true, that red zone right there, yes. This red zone right here, and this all B1 is going away. It's called rescinded.
Wait.
It's called rescinded.
Put it up.
Put it up.
See what they said?
Put it up for the public.
Put it up to the public. This is currently B3, the one in red. That's Walker to the Mormon church.
Correct.
This is now B1, currently. That's the blue, I mean the pink.
Yes.
Okay, the other red over there is B3. This paperwork says anything that is currently B3 will become B1. Okay, this paperwork says that everything that's now B1 from Dale Avenue to Walker, this pink thing that you're seeing will become R3. But everything that is B3 becomes B1. This is what this paper says. Now, if you're saying that you want everything to be residential, all the way to the Mormon church, put it on paper. Put it on paper. There's your zoning map that you just made proof
This
of.
here is what she's saying, it's there.
I know that.
I know.
And it's
We all
not
know
there.
that.
Why does everyone know
It's
that?
not there. Because you don't.
It's not the right page,
No.
that page, right here.
So
That's right.
Hey guys, you guys asked for civility. Let's
So
just have
here's another
civility.
map.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's
That may
ridiculous.
help you to better understand the wording.
Jesus Christ.
This is a previous map, all right?
This is already a map. I can see.
That
what
map
you're
is
saying.
going away,
Yes, it's gonna be.
okay?
Oh,
Right, so
okay.
now you see where the B2 is now? You
Yes.
see where that is?
Yes,
That's gonna be the B2. You
yes,
see where Walker Avenue is?
yes.
And the ambulance corps, police department, the hotel, what does that say? R,
No,
what does that say?
I said that.
R3.
If you all are in agreement with that, put it on paper.
I have it on paper, I have it on my law.
No, don't put it on the map, put it on paper. It
So you asked
says,
for a map, I gave you a map.
put it on paper.
It
Put it in
Passing a
words.
law.
It is on paper.
You're passing a law, it's not on paper.
It is on paper.
Just say residential.
I'm on a motion now, this is it.
The map is here.
No, the map, no, it's not,
You don't like
that's
this
not
map.
what we're approving.
You don't want this
I
map.
do like that map. Make sure it's on this paper.
It says it on
It's on the
there.
It is not on this paper.
All right,
Well,
we're
that's your
gonna take,
opinion.
It's not on
That's
this
your
paper.
opinion.
Oh, yes.
You know what, a map will be drawn up in color coordinated, it's just black and white, that will maybe help you a little better to understand.
No.
Don't be condescending.
Don't be condescending.
That is
Yeah,
awful
that's ridiculous.
condescending.
Yeah, so
Or a
page
trustee.
2 of
Thank you
5,
for your
Elise,
comments.
Elise,
You're
yes,
welcome.
thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
will sure, here's the other thing.
Teaches manners.
The people, okay, I will say page 2 of 5, paragraph 2. Final, this is the law that they're trying to pass. The Board of Trustees is aware that extending the B1 district southward to encompass lots abutting the west side of Route 218 from Dale Avenue to Walker Avenue, and abutting the east side of Route 218 from Havens Road southward to the property identified on tax map 106 block LA, the east side, okay? Main homes becomes R3. It doesn't say Dale to the Mormon Church. It
Okay.
says Dale to Walker. Stop showing me the map. This is the law that we're trying to pass.
And this
You're
is-
trying to show a map to the people that is not corresponding with the law you're trying to pass. The law you're trying to pass does not have that wording that you're trying, but
I don't have an
appreciate-
MBA, so
No,
I'm
I
sorry
know,
that
you
I
don't-
can't read like you.
Oh, very good.
But that's okay.
Thank you. Okay.
So here's a map.
You can show me
that
the map
shows
all
which-
day long. This is the law you're trying to pass.
Can I just suggest?
Yeah.
why you have so many mistakes.
You have so many mistakes. You're trying to pass a law. This is a 5-page law. Make sure, but thank you, I appreciate it. Make sure that the law you're trying to pass is actually saying what the map you're trying to show people are, okay? Because the map you're showing people does not correspond with the language of the law that you're
Okay.
trying to pass.
This map does.
So change that.
This map does.
Yes, thank you, but it's not in the law you're trying to pass.
It is in
We'll
law.
make sure it's
It
in.
is
No, it's
written
not. I just
exactly
read it
what
to
this
you.
map
I just
shows.
read it to you. I just read it to
And I
you.
showed, and
I
I'm
just read
trying,
it to
I'm
you.
pretty sure it says
I
that.
just read it to you.
Hey, Joe, we got a question
and
here.
I am trying to show you.
Don't-
Well,
Reverted in the old-
Thank you very much,
I'm
but
trying to
we'll
show
make
you
sure
the
it's in the law.
document.
Thank
I'm
you.
trying
All right,
to
you pay
show
attention,
you.
Heidi.
It's like
How
a
it
red
goes.
ball.
Okay, this is ended now. What we're gonna do with the issue, maybe it's an issue, maybe it isn't, that the attorney is going to look at the local law that we're all talking about. It is there, it isn't there. She'll get back to us.
Okay, I would just note that this law has been circulated for quite a few weeks, and I have not heard anything from anybody. So if you have comments
To the young lady.
about this local law, please get them to me. Don't wait until we've got the public hearing. And
This is, I already said it, the first time you introduced this, when we saw the
June,
resolution.
you have anything?
Yeah.
The young lady does here. She'd like to say something.
Can I have a question?
Bobby, I can't do public comment. It's,
Oh.
I'm so sorry, but I can't.
I will sit down.
Right.
I will go over the
Well,
map.
your hand
Trustee
back.
Reyes, and make sure that what the intent the board is trying to do, which is return those to the B3 district, is correct.
Thank you.
So,
Very
it's
good.
hard.
I
Excellent.
was told that it is correct, so
Yeah.
now I'm being told it is not correct,
It's
so.
not correct.
It's in the book.
And Ms. Friend, just so you know, this is the 2015 map that was on the county website that they had taken off. And it actually shows what we are going back to. So it shows the Mormon Church would be in the B2. And then right there at the Pelwood Road. That from there, all the way out to 9W, it shows on here that would be the B2. I think if we can utilize this map, and it's correct with the wording that we want, This will save the
Yeah.
village taxpayers money because we won't have to recreate it, it's already created.
Assuming that's what the board wants to
Yeah.
do.
Right, exactly.
My understanding was you wanted the 2020 revision rescinded,
Correct.
to go back to what it was.
Right.
Correct.
And I
Which is
believe-
R3.
Right. And I-
Correct. Which is R3.
Yeah.
Right, and I believe the 2015,
What?
All right.
and I believe the 2015 map shows that.
B2 is Nicole's. No.
Church is B2.
Yeah.
From the church to Walker Avenue.
It's not. No, it'll be R3.
It was, no, wait,
That's why
wait.
we're rescinding it.
I'm not saying B2.
Right.
R3.
Right.
But you haven't written it.
But it says, it completely
That's
says,
right.
it completely says we're rescinding what we did. So if we have to add that one parcel, we'll add it.
Yes.
That's right.
It's not a contradiction, it's not
It
anything.
is a contradiction.
It's-
It is absolutely.
I'm saying for-
It's not written on
I
the
can't
law.
argue with that.
I'll
Yeah.
Put it in the law.
It's in the law.
Thank you. All right, anyone else on
Put
the
it
board
in
want
the
to
law.
say anything?
But I appreciate it. I think we're all speaking the same language when it comes to the zoning map, but it needs to be in
Okay.
the
Have
language
anything
of
else,
the
Shannon?
law that we're trying to pass, okay? For the Pellwood group.
For everybody. We'll start this up.
Now, this is going to get circulated to the county, so if there are any changes this board wants,
Yeah.
we need to have that done tonight.
Well, we should do it too before the public hearing too. That way the public knows, right? In a second.
Well, that's correct, but it has to be done tonight because we
All right.
have a 7-day window if we're going to change the local law.
So we just want to make, again, note of that area that was currently B3
Would you send that to me?
to be,
Map.
to be,
The map with the comments. Because if I have, if there's something wrong, it needs to be corrected.
That's why I would like, so I have all of these right now, and we can sit down right here and we can color coordinate. I have some markers. This is why we're having a workshop. And we can actually color the parcels right now, and then you can take that with you, all of those, and you'll have exactly where we want this B1 district to be in B2 district.
And the R3.
right.
Well, everything outside of that. But
Reverts back.
if we color these, the B1 and the B2, then the other ones, they are what they previously were.
Okay.
So if we want to sit down and do this right now, as a board, I think it would help, because this way we're all on the same page. I mean, there may be some other section that they don't want, that used to be in the 2015, I'm not sure.
No, I think that's it.
That's why I brought the map.
Well, I think we're getting rid of all B3.
That's
Correct.
right.
So we're,
We
so,
are.
all right,
Correct.
hold on a second. So if we're getting rid of all B3, and the particular change from the B3 that's down by the south end of Main Street, we'll revert back to R3, which is what it was before, which is what we, which
It's
we,
not, it wasn't before.
It was B2 before, from I think Elwood Lake Road to the Mormon Church. Nicole's was B2 before.
yeah, that's,
And that's
yeah,
what
that's
it's
gonna
gonna
stay
go to.
B2.
That's going to the
So
B2.
from Dale to Elwood Lake Road, you go to R3.
Correct.
And then from Elwood Lake Road to the Mormon Church, when you come back, we'll revert back to B2.
Including the
It
old
didn't, it's not reverting,
BMW.
wait, time out. It's not reverting to anything. It's B2 now.
No, it's B3.
The church is B2,
Church
I believe,
is-
I mean, B3, so it'll revert back to B2, correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
So
okay.
from Elwood Lake Road to the Mormon Church is B2 like it always was.
Correct.
But from Dale Avenue all the way down to Elwood Lake Road would be R3, which
Yes.
is what you want.
Correct.
That's right.
That's correct.
That's right.
Which would be rescinding the change we made.
Yes, so
Thank you.
that's what,
Thank you.
Here's the map. It's
Okay.
very simple.
Hold.
There's also the BMW, correct?
yes.
That was in it, and the one parcel just behind that as well.
Yes.
Used to be in it, and that's why I would like us to color this map. So if this is what we're truly going to go back to, then it should be it.
We did the parcels down.
We did on the
southern-
highway?
Yes, we did.
So that's what I'm saying. Here's a map right here, nice and black and white. There's Pelwood Lake Road. We color this in, and that's what it's going to be, right? That's what's reflected on here. You know? So if we could all get on board with this, I think that'd be great. And then we know this other thing we could pull up the next section where we're gonna start, and again, just color that in as well. Is everybody okay with that? I don't know.
Just change the language in here. Yes, everybody's okay with that.
As I was
Easier
saying.
than the
we-
written
we could-
law.
We could do the coloring part, but as I was saying, before I started, we'll change the sections down that need to be changed at the south end to R3 and B2. Because we're getting rid of B3. On the north side of Main Street, heading towards their gate, where there were sections of B3, those will be gone. Those will revert back to B1. And then in B1, if we're reverting those back to B1, a couple of things I'd like to make sure we have, and a couple concerns. Similar to, I think, the B3, we don't have, and I'm not 100% sure if we have front or side setbacks in B1.
Okay, so we're moving on to a different topic?
No, it's the same thing.
Okay, no, we're making R3 all the way to the Mormon Church, okay?
No.
Yes, yes?
No,
Okay.
Lake Road.
Elwood Lake Road.
Pelwood Lake Road,
Right.
which is, that includes Fairfield,
Yeah.
Yes.
okay, and
Well, it's walkable,
Academy.
really.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
That's where the problem is. You're not
No,
using
no,
the right
no,
road.
that's not where the problem
And
is.
if
You
you're
don't even
including it's the
understand
left
your
side of the
own
road,
life.
if
You
you're-
don't even
I'm thinking-
understand.
Somebody needs to get me a.
It's
Oh, my.
R3 until
It's
Pelwood,
Walker
and then
Road.
the Mormon
It's
Church
not
becomes
Mormon Church.
B2 like it was.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's
It's
Walker.
not, Pelwood's only at the other.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. DeYoung.
And the church.
It's Walker.
It's the left side of Walker.
Walker to the Mormon Church becomes R3.
Right.
Very good.
Which is just the one parcel.
That's
No,
right.
no, no.
That's not how it's written here.
No, no,
So
that's
we
not-
just make
that's
sure
right.
it's changed.
Yes.
That's not it. No, you just said it was in R3, it's going to become B2.
Right.
That's right.
Oh, no, Walker
No,
to
no.
Mormon Church?
No, the other one, honey.
Again,
She don't know.
B3, R3 should go from Dale all the way down to Pelwood Lake Road.
Right.
Yes,
That takes care of that.
yes,
And
yes.
then from Pelwood Lake Road south of the Mormon
It's
Church.
B2.
It's B2.
reverts to B2.
That's
Okay.
right,
Right.
that's right.
Always was.
Yes, that's how, that's not how it's written right here.
True.
Okay? So make sure it's written just exactly like that
Okay.
on this
All right,
law.
so what, can I ask the question, what are we gonna do with these two marks in this
What was it
Can you
before?
These two marks,
What was it before?
it was B2, you're gonna include them into the B2 as well?
Which one are you talking about?
You're talking
This
about
is the Mormon
Guy's
church.
house. Guy's house in the old, yeah.
So they used to be B2?
Yes.
Okay, well then
I don't know what
guess
the
it
big problem
goes
is.
back to
So,
B2.
so you're okay with us leaving them into the B2, correct?
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
that's,
Okay.
yeah, that's highway, yeah, so
Yeah,
that's fine.
Exactly what it was before.
exactly what it was before. So this is going to be the B2. Right there. Is the board comfortable with that? You
Yep,
guys wanna take a look at it?
no,
Alright, So that's that particular section.
yep,
B2, we're good to go, we'll make sure the wording is correct.
If you've got, okay,
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
actually, to be specific,
Yeah.
you should, one way to do this is to actually call out the SBLs.
Okay, yes. And believe it or not, they're on here,
Okay.
which makes it real easy for
I'm
us.
sure they are.
So,
So
I'll
that's
make
the
sure you get.
B2, right?
that's- Right,
Yep.
B2 right in the middle, so we're all comfortable
And
with
where's
that.
R3? What's going back to R3? Can you color code that?
We can on all of this for sure, but
Dale
I don't
to
have that much
Pelwood
color. I don't have that much
Just,
color.
all right.
It's easier just to do the B2 here on this
Okay,
one.
then get a different color and do the R3.
Right, and it's gonna be on like 7 maps, just so you know.
All right.
Or I can put it all onto one. But
That would be good.
for this evening, we could do just the B2 here.
Okay, all right.
Now, also, in the B2 district, we have the town garage on the 2015 map, right? So we're all good with that? Going back to that, the town garage, Mr. Mayor?
yes.
And also, the old guard property. And I believe they did consolidate the lots, because that was part of their approval process. And they bought Gene's, the mailman,
Hey, no doubt.
Gene Odell, and then it went from Gene to Mr. Willis, and then he sold it to the old guard. So I believe those parcels also will be in the B2 district.
Yeah.
We're all good with that? Yeah, and that shows on this, so we'll take a look at that section as well. And that's the only 3 areas that will be in B2.
There's one more further up the hill.
Pass the old one?
Passes.
Passes.
Got faster property, but that's.
Right after.
That's not B2.
The hotel.
Should it be, well, this is why we're here. Should the fastest property, being that it's
What
on,
was it in before? We're rescinding, so it's gonna go back to what it was unless you make it
it
different.
was in an R.
Jim,
it
no,
could-
that's not
it
part of
might
the
have been
law
in
that we're
R1.
actually
What?
rescinding. That's not
Probably in
part
an
of the law.
R1. But we're trying to do something correct. And I
Right.
know in the past there have been some errors done. And if we can put it all on these maps, and they're exactly what's the wording in our new law, in the code book, it's not only gonna help developers when they come in, it's gonna help the building department and the planning board as well. Because there's not gonna be, well, it used to be this, or it's that, or it should be this. Once we have a map that coincides with your wording, I think it'll just be easier for everybody. And that's why I tried to get these maps, so we could, lay out right down tonight. I thought that's what the workshop was about.
All right,
Yeah.
No
Jim.
problem, Jim.
Yeah,
Just
let's
we
be
keep moving
specific.
forward though, we keep going back to a different map, so.
So
Let's
yeah,
stick to
so my suggestion is if trustee Ramus can color code all of those maps and put them up on the website, and everyone here can agree that yes, that's exactly what the board wants to do, I think it would be easier for the public, and certainly easier for me, to understand exactly where the boundaries are. Because if you recall, trustee Ramus, those county maps have not always been accurate.
Yeah,
Right, Phil?
the colors kind of float.
I mean, the accurate map is from, what, 1983 or something? The one that's actually been adopted by this board.
Correct.
1973. It's the King James Lion.
Okay. So I think the only thing the only thing that will change now is that you will probably have to continue the October 7th public hearing, so that everyone will have an opportunity once you get these maps.
As it reads now.
Yes, because we're gonna make sure it's correct, and we're gonna put these maps up that are now color-coded with different colors to show the new B1, B2, R3, to ensure that it's actually rescinding and going back. And if there are any questionable lots, like what should this be in, then that should just show a question mark, and then the board can decide.
Right, so,
Okay?
but while we're here right now,
That's,
I would like us to look at the B1, right? Because we have the maps. We can do the B1 in some balloons just to make sure we're on the right page. Right? And then I'll get the maps out to everybody, but if we can do it right now, and then when if we agree upon this, then, like you said, we get it onto the website and the comments can come at that point in time.
right.
So with that being said,
Mr. Renz, can you finish your thought on the B1, please? Highway, commercial.
That's
You
B2.
talked about the Old Guard Hotel.
Yes.
And you left out Fats's property. That all should be Highway B2.
Not that way right now.
No, not, just change.
but we're changing the zoning, so great comment. If the question is if the board wants to turn that into B2 to give them that opportunity, because it is like a business corridor up there. And I'll take your thoughts. Ms. Forever, do you think that would be a good idea?
You know, this is my thought on that. When you guys changed the DAPRAS property to, from residential to B1, they didn't know, and when they did find out, they were pretty upset about that. So what would I say about the FATSIS property currently being residential and you want to turn it to B2? Maybe we should ask them. I mean, from my perspective,
All right, so let's do this. The question is, let's find out from the rest of the board. I got your point. Mr. Mayor, what do you think about extending the B2 up on that general area?
Yeah, I would do that for that whole section.
Okay,
Jeannie Odell's house, the Puerto Rico Motel,
right,
and I think we should tell faxes of the change.
okay.
Well, if we're rescinding what we did before, this is how you don't get yourself in trouble. If we're rescinding what we did before, we just need to find out what it was before, and it goes back to that. If it was residential, or R5, or R3, or whatever, then it goes back to that. We're not gonna invent a new zone it should be in. We're gonna double check what it was before, because we're rescinding the B3.
I would also note that,
You
I
can't,
would also,
if you do that, then you're gonna be, it's a spot zone change.
No,
For one property.
Hold on, wait, I hear what you're saying. Yeah,
Good.
rescinding-
Are you listening?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I hear what you're saying about rescinding the B3.
Right.
But do we want to look at our zoning now, or look at that
I would
in
not
the
do that
future?
now.
No,
I'll
I
tell
don't
you
think that
why.
one particular parcel,
Because there's support to just rescind what you do.
yeah.
There's not a lot of
And we're trying
support
For changing.
Yeah,
for
the focus,
changing it.
Perfect.
And also recall that if the fastest owners wanted to be considered for a zone change, they could always petition the
Correct.
village board and
Okay.
request a zone
Correct.
change. And then you would look at it.
Okay.
Okay, or if at some point you actually amend the comprehensive plan, and that supports that, that's another story.
Okay.
Right.
So let's start at Thayer Gate, right? Here's Thayer Gate, right here,
okay, so you have your notes for the other end,
right?
before we go to third gate, okay. Just wanna make it,
So where are we gonna go back to with our business one district from Thayer Gate? Previously, I do believe it came down to, I don't think it included the Holy Innocents Church on this particular map. And I know it didn't include the Sacred Heart Church either on this particular map. Just so everybody knows. So if we're going back to this map, that'll change some of those things.
Well, the language in the law that we're trying to amend says that everything that's B3 becomes B1, okay, but we.
We're changing that.
We already, so
We're changing.
currently B3 is from West Point Gate until Dale Avenue. That's B, oh, no, I'm sorry. That's, no, that B3 is from Dale, from West Point to Cousins. Yeah, that's B3.
No, sir.
So that's gonna become B1?
No.
Yeah.
If we're going back to the map, here you go, right here. You ready? Thayer Gate, McDonald's, comes all the way down to here, right? And then these properties are in the R4, which is Holy Innocents, the bus garage, and 3 properties beyond. We're not looking at that map. That map, we might as well burn it, because it's not even on the
No,
website.
this is the current one.
It's not on the website anymore.
I know, but it's the current law. This is the current law.
Should we go into a moratorium, so being that we're
No, this
changing
is
this?
the current law, and we're changing it, rescinding
Right,
it.
should we go into a
So
moratorium?
the
do you
current
think?
law says B3 is from the gate to Cousins. So we said, we're not gonna have any more B3, we're
Right.
gonna make it B1. So now it's gonna be gate all the way to
doesn't matter.
Dale.
No, we're
Is
going
that
back
the
to,
B1?
we're going back to this map, aren't we?
No.
So you don't want,
Or are we going back to this
do
map?
you want gate to Dale?
Are we going
Gate
back?
of West Point to Dale as B1?
No. Are we
No?
the question is, are we going back to this map?
No, the question is, my question is simple. Do you want B1 to go from the West Point gate to Dale?
I think the
Just
word
where key bank
rescind
is.
says we're taking that away.
The workshop, the question is, which one do you want to be B1? Do you want B1 to extend from the gate to Dale or not?
Well, that's what I'm asking you right here. So if you look at this, so.
We're asking the same question of each other? Okay, do you want B1 to go
No, I
from
want
the
it to look,
gate
no, I want it to look
to
like this.
Dale?
No, I want it
And if we
Yeah,
are rescinding
that's
it,
Dale.
then that's how we're going
To the gate?
to, no,
No.
No?
I want it to,
Oh,
I want it to
okay.
look like this.
So where do you want B1 to be? From
Right
the
here.
gate?
Right here.
So
Thayer
give
Gate,
me a street. The gate to what street?
You live in the village, you know where this is.
No, no.
Can you turn it around so that, so we
So
can
the
see it?
gate to where? Where do you want B1
Their
to?
gate,
Could you
Jim.
turn this computer
No,
so we can
no,
see
we
it?
need it
We
right
need
now.
it right now, just.
Where do you want B1 to be?
All the pink area right there.
Which is where? From the gate to where?
Their
So
gate.
this is coming down, let's see, what's the first street?
Homestead.
Homestead? No?
Okay. So you want it from the gate to
Let's just-
Homestead?
No.
Okay.
I'm-
Gate to
I'm
where?
trying to walk you through it because
No,
obviously
you
you
don't
don't know
have to
where
walk me
this
through.
comes
A gate to what street?
up. Okay, so let's
Gate
see.
to date.
Let me go by parcels then. All right,
Oh,
you want to go by
okay.
parcels?
No, not really.
Well, you don't know where the streets are?
Gate to what street? The gate of West Point to what street? Do you want to be
Homestead,
B1?
Parry, Drew, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 parcels past Drew.
Which is what street?
That's
It
not a
ends
street,
up-
it's 4 parcels.
Yeah, it ends up on one
On a
street.
parcel?
What street
No,
on Main
no,
Street?
this is not on a parcel.
Well, you gotta be able to describe that as a
And we will.
parcel.
Correct.
Okay, what parcel do you want it to be on the lot?
I think it goes to Walker.
To Walker?
West side.
You guys are way ahead.
Street.
1, 2, 3, 4.
What street do you want it to
It
be?
just doesn't include every parcel.
It doesn't include every parcel.
Doesn't include every parcel.
That map, if we're going back to it, would come here, 1, 2, 3, 4 parcels past,
Okay,
all right? And that's the question. Do we
Yes.
want to go back to this map or not?
I don't know,
Well, that's what I'm trying to
trying to
guess.
imagine up to Dale. B1 is from the gate of West Point up to Dale. All those parcels on Main Street, to Dale,
So all of the parcels on Main Street,
to Dale.
okay.
Only, you can only say something
Okay, I'm
if
sorry.
you can make,
Okay, I,
stop this, what's going on.
okay, we
If you can't, then I don't want you to say
need
that.
this board to make decisions on this community that will impact the
All right.
next 20 years.
We know that, Jim.
No, not
We-
going back to an old map. We want you to make future decisions.
Right.
We want you to get further than that old map, Jimmy.
Okay.
Make 20-year decisions now.
Okay.
That's why I have this map out. And if we could sit down and actually come up, right here's Homestead, Parry, Drew, where are we gonna stop this? And does it go from Main Street to Church Street, like it does here, from Main Street to Center Street, right, on this map, right? So now we have a parallel street that we could include everything in the business district, because we do know that some people have bought 7 parcels to build a hotel on. So should we give, now that's thinking ahead, Mr. Tilo, should we go all the way to Church Street? It's a thought that this board should look at.
No, Jimmy.
No.
How can we not even consider the Key Bank building or beyond that? Why are we talking about Sacred Heart Church?
Why don't we, let's, all right, so, hold on, let's go to the key, you wanna go to that map, or, and we'll come back to this
All right,
map?
time out. Can we time out? Can we start taking turns? Like, I don't know why, you know. If we're reverting back to the B1, Jim, let's stop with the games. B1 starts at their gate and goes to, what's the last street it touches?
That's Drew Avenue right there.
Keep going, because it's still on Main Street, bud.
That is, so down here, is
Keep
Church.
going.
That's Church Street.
Keep going,
It doesn't include any parcels.
keep going. Thank you. Keep going. What's the last road it touches?
This goes all the way down to 2 parcels, no, 3 parcels past Regina Road.
Okay,
But it stopped on the other side of the street.
correct.
Okay.
So where does it stop
So
on the other side of the street?
of the
West
street,
side.
it goes and it bifurcates that lot. So right across from. Pardon?
What's it going,
That's
Dale
the-
Ave?
Yeah, that's the key
Dale
bank.
Avenue!
That-
Dale Avenue.
Now, it bifurcates that lot. Should we leave it bifurcated or should we include the whole lot?
Because the rear portion of it's not included, is that what you're saying?
That's all Key Bank?
Jim,
No,
Yeah,
Key Bank's
Jim.
lot, half of it's in R5 and half of it's in B1, according to the map.
so,
Under the zoning law,
parking
you
lot?
can extend one to the other.
Correct.
yes, so that, under the current zoning law, I don't need to do anything.
Not really.
Right. So,
And it's-
again, if I'm going back to, if I am rescinding if I am reverting back to this map and getting rid of B3, I don't think the board right now, and I'm not, let me rephrase that, I don't think I am changing anything with B1 other than what B1 represents now. So if the churches are in R4, then that's what they're in.
Right, as well as,
Yeah.
the bus garage and 1, 2, 3 lots beyond.
Whatever parcels are in there now, we're reverting back.
Okay,
Because right now, they're not in B3.
right. So all of those would go back to non-conforming uses because they are businesses.
No different than the other ones
Right.
down at the other end of town.
Yeah, no, I'm okay with that. I
Okay.
just want to make sure we're on the same
Joe,
page.
can I just, while they're there, I do think this needs to get addressed because that concept of people buying other lots is gonna happen. So there has to be some mechanism of how that's gonna be interpreted. If it says you have the frontage and you have the other lots, and it can
Yeah.
happen, that language, because we dealt with this, and we dealt with a no real map for B3.
Right.
So, as much as this seems like semantics right now,
Yeah.
we ran into some problems with B3. And the other point is, those churches and stuff like that, they run the entire length, so.
Right,
And as we can see, those get sold and then become commercial property.
correct.
So,
Eric, yeah, I think actually that's a very good
So-
point that Eric is making, because right now, there's a developer who owns not just parts, but owns the property behind it, which is 5 Drew, and also the property behind it, which is 9 Drew. 9 Drew being residential, 5 Drew being B3 currently. So if they put all those together, do those 3 lots become B1?
Well,
But there's a process for, but
That's
there is a,
there's usually a
Well,
process.
but there, wait a minute, time out. We keep going down another road. There is a process if you abut another zone. We just heard that.
but hold on, if you look at this map, one of the parcels that was just mentioned is in the business district, the other one isn't. And at that point in time, they would come to the planning board and have to combine the lots because you can't have parking on an individual lot, just like with the old guard. So they would have to combine the lots, and at that point in time, that
They
would be
bifurcated.
adopted. It would,
Once you combine, if you combine, the 2 lots are in 2 different zoning districts, right? And you combine that lot, it's still in 2 zoning districts. So in your code, you have the ability, as the owner,
Yes.
to extend one
Right,
either way.
right. So let's not go down that rabbit hole.
Let's
You don't
go
have
down
to.
that rabbit hole. We can
Well, if
see-
you want to include parcels, Jim, I have to go and reach out to every one of those homeowners or property owners. I was just told that by somebody else on the
No, we have
board.
a law that says the adjoining property can be used as
Right.
one or the other.
Right,
So,
so leave it, then that's what I'm saying. Then it's already in the books.
that's different.
Okay.
so those 2,
Go ahead, Ed. Hold on, Jimmy.
the 2 are in it, and just so you know, the one behind it, the second
Ed, please, I said go ahead.
house is in, on this map.
Is it B?
It's in the business district.
Excuse me. A long time ago, we, on the planning board, built a whole map of what was to be the B3 zone. Now, you can throw B3 away and make it B1. We started at the West Point Gate, and went down to Mountain Avenue, and went on the west side of Main Street, back to Church Street, and went all the way straight through to Mountain Avenue. You call that Main Street West.
Right.
Okay? If you change that zone and make it that way, along the street line, then whatever's in there, if the church is in there with R4 or whatever, so it becomes non-conforming, right?
Yeah.
So, big deal.
That's
If
it.
the church gets sold, it's still in a B1 zone and you're able to develop it.
Right.
If you start chopping this stuff apart, this one's gonna be R4, this one's gonna be R3,
No good.
this one's gonna be R27, it just confuses your whole map and it confuses
Correct.
progress that you're trying to make. Cut a line, you know, it's gonna go on the McDonald side, it's gonna go from West Point Gate, all the way to Mountain Avenue, all the way to Dale Avenue.
That's what it's
That's
doing.
B1.
That's B1. That's what it's
Dale
doing.
Avenue makes more sense, go all the way to Dale Avenue.
Yep,
And then on the other side of the road.
exactly what it was before. It's exactly what it was
On the
before.
other side.
Actually, the only ones that,
They need a map. They need a map.
I know that.
Well, we didn't have one at one
I
time.
agree, I understand that, but we're literally saying to revert back to what it is right there.
So,
Sounds good to me.
but if we were to take Mr. Dunn's suggestion here, these are 4s that are fronting on Main Street, and there's now 5 that is fronting on Main Street at this point in time. At this point in time,
But
If-
isn't
if-
that the isn't that the issue, that the residential properties that were then put into B1s were upset?
Along Main Street.
Yeah.
These are all men.
How many?
These are off Main.
Again, suggestion. We're trying to take care of two different things here. If we are trying to rescind the B3 district that we created, then you have to go back to this map, right here, right there, create that B1. And then we can tweak B1. If we want to come down again and do it and change the dozen parcels that are touching B1, which they probably could technically get changed to B1 through the process, then we could probably do that later. But in order to facilitate the rescinding of the B3, to satisfy the south end down by Pellwood Lake area, back to an R3, and change the B1 to eliminate the B3, then you need to go to that B1. If you take the 12 parcels and change them to B1 now, we could potentially run into the same situation from those residents that we are in now. So if we want to change those dozen properties, I'm talking about that right there, right now. Wait a minute, 8, so 8 properties into B1, we could do that later. We could do it later. Even if someone buys the church, if the church gets sold tomorrow, which, you know, there's no way my dad would let that happen. But if they sold Sacred Heart tomorrow and they wanted to put a whatever in there, they can do that. They can go petition to get it to change it to a commercial property technically. So let's just let's not get into the weeds, okay, and too far, and stick to changing back to the B1, and then let's tweak the B1 so that we can try to get the 20-year investors into the community, which we've been talking about for the last
2 years.
whatever. I don't say 2 years, but at least the
Tell
last
everybody where
year.
B1 goes from West Point
From
to-
Fairgate all the way down to, I want to say, Mr. Dion, what's the, I
I
want
want
to,
to know what it was, what the
Dale.
actual
Yeah.
2020
I want to call it Walker Road.
This is what the
Dale.
2020 law said.
Right,
The B1 district shall be extended southward to encompass those lots abutting the west side of Route 218
right,
from Dale Avenue to Walker Avenue,
right,
and shall also encompass those lots abutting the east side of Route 218 from Havens Road southward to and including the property identified on the tax map as 10618.
right. So I think
That's what we're rescinding.
right, the B1 does not go down that far currently. I believe it goes to Dale.
Well,
it'll be a
it does now because this is the 2020 local law.
I know that it does now, but I'm saying once we revert back to where the B1 was before, I think it only goes as far as Dale. Yes. Oh, well, that's up
On
to
the
you.
1973 King James Wyant map, it does go down to what is now the Verizon Medical Building, the old bowling alley
Okay.
on that side.
Okay.
Plus, yeah, so you've got.
And I would be okay with that, because those buildings along that is pretty much commercial anyway. So,
Well, Jimmy, that's always on Pellwood. It would not walk.
no, it goes, no, it would only go to the other side, yeah. No, it's the Horizon side, it's not the other side. The B1 would go to the medical office.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this is the King James Wyant map, just say on that.
But it's in black and white, it's not gonna help. Well, if
But
anybody- Oh, it's a label?
yeah, it's really defined, pretty good. So you see how this B1 comes down? And actually, if we go back to the King James Wyant map, it's a little different than this.
Yeah, I don't, again, let's not,
This is
King James Wyant had Wilson Court as a village road too, so let's not go down that far.
I think Phil, wasn't it the 1983 map that was actually adopted by this board, which makes it the
Not this board.
official?
I was
map?
three.
Well, by the board. Okay.
Jimmy, we were in the town that King James Wine annexed us into the
I
village
wasn't alive, so.
back then. So his map probably has us in the town. Really? He
We
annexed
don't know
us.
what they are.
Okay, so regardless of that, we know that if we're talking about B1, we want to at least go down to the Horizon, is it Horizon or Cornerstone?
Horizon on that side.
Horizon on that side, on the right side of the street, if I can say it that way. And then on the left side of the street, we're gonna go to where the, what, old bowling alley used to be?
No, wait. Horizon is the bowling alley.
Oh,
Verizon is right off.
The other side.
okay, so
Cornerstone.
on the right side of the street, we're going to Cornerstone, and on the left side, we're going on to Horizon.
Right.
No, we're Cornerstone. Where did that go?
Isn't Cornerstone Medical thing? It's right there. What are you talking about?
No.
Carol's old place.
It's right after Hogan's.
I know where it is, but that is all R3. From Dale Avenue south, from Key Bank south is R3.
Right.
All the way down.
Well, it is
to
now,
Lake Road. That's what you're
It
trying to
used
get
to
at
be
to.
also R3.
That's
So
what
we're
you're-
gonna revert
Again.
it back to R3.
All right, somebody is gonna have to lay this out for me. You know,
It's just
I
that-
mean. with
It's all over the place.
Exactitude.
Yeah. It's because you got, again, if you just stick to what the law says and we're rescinding the B3, you go back to the original map.
Yes.
My
So
friend,
the problem is,
the
we just
wording
keep,
has to be
we
in
just
the
keep-
law.
Why don't you
can't
send
keep
me
going
the
to
wording you think is correct?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
will.
do that.
Very good. Yes, I shall do
Copy.
that.
And then
I shall give you the
circulate
words.
it with the rest of
Right.
the words.
All right.
and so if we rescind it, we go back to the B1,
Excellent.
and there's no more B3. Now, let's talk about B1. Can we talk about B1, or we still want to look at that?
That's up to you. If we're using this map, it also includes the Horizon building and the lot next to it, and the lot behind it.
Yeah. If that's what it was before, Jim, then yes.
Okay,
If we're rescinding the B3,
okay,
then it goes back to that.
okay.
All right,
Unless
so
you
what
have-
should B1 be?
The only map that's signed by the board is the 1983 map.
The board at that time.
Which according to Mr. Janarone is the 73 map.
Yes, you read the map itself, it says the village clerk certified it in 83, but it's actually the 70, whatever map. So,
Okay.
but.
Now that we've beaten that to death.
To make it even worse, but there were a number of amendments over the years that were never posted on any map, and we don't know what they are.
Okay.
50-year-old map, it's like half a century old.
But that is.
Thanks for doing the math.
official map.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
can we
good
see
math. It's good math.
Half of 100 is 50, I don't know how good it is. Pretty easy. Okay. Put this away. Enough with the props, all right?
All right, can we
Okay, so let's talk about what B1 should consist of, right?
Yes.
Because this will probably be another, you know. So,
Let me just get to okay. So B3 is gone, now we're talking about B1 on the schedule of.
the nuts and bolts of the B1.
So we're changing this draft?
I don't know.
Well, maybe. We're talking about it now, bud.
We didn't want to change the map, we're going to change the draft.
We did change the map. We
No.
got rid of B3.
No, we tried to change some of the other parcels, but we're not going to do that now. I'm just asking a quick question.
We're rescinding B3 and changing the map back. So we did change the map, if that's an answer to your question.
There are some other parcels that we were looking at that we thought should.
To add?
That we
I
should
think we
have.
would probably need to talk to those property owners
That
before
we
we
should
make
have
that
added,
decision.
but we're going to change it in here, what the other property owners
zone?
can do. Yeah, in the zone.
We're entitled to change the zone, yeah.
Right, and that's why,
As part of being a village member of the board, you get to change the zone.
right, and we're
The
entitled.
contents of the zone.
In the parcels that are in.
Yeah, but it was brought up that we should talk to the parcel owners to get their input if they want to be
How many
changed.
are there, Jim? 10 single families?
I don't know. It's the church, there's a couple of them.
There's not that many.
No, there isn't.
I understand what you're doing, but I do remember.
Do you?
When you passed 2,500 and you said, oh, we can fix this fast. Don't worry about it, we just threw a number in. But that was years.
Listen, if somebody wants to make a motion and add those parcels, then make the motion. Otherwise, we're just, we're throwing maps around and you're putting another thing on the table. If you want to change those parcels, make a motion. If there's no motion to change the parcels, then we're moving on.
I mean, just for everyone, and at least writing a law, it becomes much easier when the zone starts at West Point and goes to Dale Avenue on one side, and starts at West Point.
So we could include
and goes to
if
Regina
you
on the
want
other.
to include
I mean,
every parcel that touches the zone on Main Street, I don't know if you can word it that way.
It should only be one parcel deep, that's it. That's
That's
touching
what we
Main
did,
Street.
And I'm
and
thinking
then
about the
the
money.
people
But then that would
who got
stop,
changed from R
that would stop
That's what my point is
B1
you
the
don't,
shades
were
part.
very
You're gonna-
From,
You're run into
from
a
allowing that
challenge.
other parcel to get in, which they need.
by changing these other
So
parcels,
if
we
we
can
want to
change
do
back.
that, then that stops that.
Then we have to go through a zoning planning board.
That's the problem.
Yeah,
By rescinding it, it's clean. You're going back to the old map.
yeah, I wouldn't
The only thing you're tweaking
make
is
any
the-
other changes right now on
the zone requirements. Anyway,
Can we move on to what B1 should say about the square footage requirements?
sure, what do you think it should say?
Well, you guys thought that 350 square feet
That's not true.
was too small or too
Yeah.
little. So
So do you have a number or do
And
you have
then-
another criticism?
everybody thought 2,500 is too big.
Okay, 2,500 is too big,
And then we got in the middle, which is
350 is too
1,250.
small.
And I think the law right now says 1,250.
No,
No.
it says
So
2,500.
2,500.
Oh, no, I mean.
You know, the new law,
The
yes.
new law that you want to have a public hearing on.
Right.
It says 1,250,
Mhm.
but I think that's still a little too high.
Okay,
So just so the board understands, at 2,500, someone who owns an acre of property would be allowed to put about 34 dwelling units over first floor commercial if it's mixed use.
I'm sorry, say that again?
At 2,500, if you
Yeah.
own, if you buy up parcels and let's say you accumulate an acre, and that's just an easy way to figure
An
it.
acre, which is 40,000,
43,560.
43,000.
560.
560.
That's
So
a lot
you,
of
It's
square
the,
footage.
connected, real quick, it's the size of what Rick has combined right now. With the
43,000,
Mogadishu
okay.
lot, yeah.
43,000 plus, gotcha.
So right now, under the current zoning at 2,500, which it was for years and years and years, you would have about, you'd be able to build 34 dwelling units of varying sizes, up to you as the owner. If you reduce it to 1,250, wait a minute, that's not right. Hold on. At 1,250, you can build 34. So the proposed 1,250 would be 34, 2,500 would be half of that. So right now, the board has a law on the table that's allows 34 dwelling units, okay? If you reduce it to 850, it would be 51 dwelling units. Assuming you could get that many in there and you could accumulate. So somewhere, I know the planning board suggested 850, the village board went from 2,500 to 1,250, so it's really up to the village board to decide what the density should be. However, the smaller the the greater the density, the more impact you're going to have to services. So you will have to do some seeker on whatever however you decide to go.
So a couple of things on that. One is we're really only talking about a half a mile length of development, not the whole village, okay? We're only talking about changing this square footage requirement on B1 districts, which we've established is gonna be from the gate to Dale Avenue, okay? That's what, half a mile?
There's all the properties behind there that are also in B1.
No, but that's the thing that we're just talking about right now. We're talking about B1 being one parcel deep
But it's not,
for the most
but
part.
it's not.
Okay,
But
and
it's
so how many parcels deep?
So there's 23 acres of
23
land
acres of land that's gonna be B1?
that will be in the old B1 district, correct?
That's what we wanna, okay.
So 23
would you like
acres of
to
land.
change the B1 to just 1 or 2 parcels deep on Main Street
No.
for half a mile? So you wanna keep it at 23 acres of B1, and that's what is going to get affected if we were to change the square footage requirement. So 23 acres, oh, that's a lot.
Well, that's what's in the B1
That is
now.
a lot of density,
That's what's
okay?
in the B1.
In my perspective, I was only thinking about that half a mile stretch on Main Street. But if you're gonna start counting B1 as all the parcels, 5, 6, 8 parcels deep from Main Street, then that's pretty dense, I agree.
Well,
It's,
so if you look at the
Hold on a
B1 right
second.
there,
Yeah.
you see how the B1 is? It goes all the way, encompasses all of that.
All the way
So-
to church is what
No,
you're
no, not the
saying.
church. This is,
All the way to,
this is Center Street.
all the way to Center.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's what's,
Melanie,
So from Main Street parallel all the way to Center. Okay, so that's 23 acres becoming B1,
not, that section
Right
is,
now.
it's,
is what
That's-
you're saying.
that section
It
is,
is right.
It
That's
open-
pretty dense, I
it open-
agree, that's pretty dense.
that section is
I
not.
already agreed, so let's move on. So that's pretty dense, so let's come up with either a number or a restriction on how deep B1 should be.
Well, then you're changing this, so we're not going back to the ascending map then.
Yeah,
If you own a lot that fronts Main and it's in B1, and you buy the lot behind it, it's still only one lot in B1, but you can push B1 back to encompass the lot. What I think you're saying is, if you look at the village and you go back to the way it was, 23 acres of property are in, or will be, or already are in
B1.
B1. Okay,
They were in B1, and now they will be again.
and now they will be again.
right.
so what do you guys think of that? 23 acres in B1, if we're gonna make it really dense, that does impose a lot of economic
So
and
it's what-
infrastructure stress on the
So at
citizens.
1250, that
$12.50.
we, at 1250, that will give us another 800 possible.
Yeah,
Which
800.
which I think is an okay number, because all these parcels aren't going to combine. And that's the truth, that is the truth. But at 1250, I think personally, I like everything that's in this document. I have no problems with the document, the draft that was given us. I have no comments or concerns about it.
That is correct. At 1250, a developer can, let's just say one person owned all 23 acres, that would increase the density by 800 units.
791 units, you're right. Yeah. So how do you want to, so let's come up with a number. So 850, if B1 is 23 acres, and, you know, that's 791 additional units at 850.
No, that's at 1250.
At 12?
At 1250, are you okay with that? You okay with
I
that?
don't know why you guys are not asking members of
At
We sent a few letters to
At
you.
850,
I know, Jim, we know what you guys want.
Okay.
1100.
Well,
You see, we're trying to get there,
But
Yeah,
there
I'm
is
just
no-
saying, so, and I'll give you, what's
I understand
the
that.
other number?
but
that you
when two
want?
people are talking, like, I'm not gonna get talking over them.
No,
I said
just-
850.
When someone takes a breath, I'm gonna jump
They
in.
should have their own
Huh? I am gonna bring it up right
All
now.
right.
So that's, yeah. it's
But can we,
part of the
can we do
conversation.
this, can we back into that? Can that be the last thing we talk about, the square footage? Because I think that's probably the biggest
Yes.
hurdle to go over.
Okay, at
Correct.
850, it would be 1,778 additional units. So 801 to 17.
I mean, keep in mind, you're saying if everybody bought every
Yeah.
property,
Yes.
bulldozed it
Right.
down, and then when we start, you know, so that's a little bit of,
Yeah.
that's a little bit
That may
of.
not happen, I'm just
Yeah.
saying that when
It's
you
not-
look at the
it's- I think
density
it's
that you're
possible.
allowing.
Yeah, hold on a second, hold on a second, hold on a second. I think it's just, while you're using the 23 number, that's fine, I mean, but you have to be little realistic that that's probably, the potential for that to happen is probably very, very small.
It's impossible. It's
Right.
impossible, I agree.
Okay. I don't know that anything's impossible.
Right.
If a guy wanted to come and buy the whole town and was a billionaire, but I'm just saying the percentages are probably nil,
Only,
okay?
and my only point to that would be, we already had a developer come in and buy 7 lots to put a hotel on, so it's not an impossible task for people that have money and want to make money.
You're right, but as of today, 5 years later, nothing's happened.
Okay.
And it's just one developer, that
No,
doesn't mean other developers don't
Jimmy,
have money.
Jimmy, Scotty, Jim, you, go ahead, Pete.
First of all, I think that we're being overusing the same people's conversation. We're not getting the input. I was always taught when I was young that, you surround yourself with educated people on the subject. We have the planning board here, we have the zoning board here, and we ask them to come. I think we should ask those guys for their opinion. That's what they do. We're trustees. I'm not a construction worker. I've never developed anything except for, my house or a bar or things like that. I don't know nothing about building the Main Street. And I don't know anybody here that really has a whole lot of input on that. I think we have the planning board and the zoning board for that reason, to ask their advice. Then we, talk it over.
Excuse me.
We get their
Excuse me.
advice. I thought that we were talking about, 0 square footage, and then maybe putting restrictions on how big each apartment size is supposed to be. An efficiency, a single bedroom, a 2 or 3, all that. I thought that's where we were going, and I haven't heard anything about that yet tonight. So I'd like to hear something from Eric.
The planning board gave a written recommendation that states exactly what you're saying, Pete, okay? So they gave that recommendation, it came from Ed Dunn, Eric Smith, Harvey
Johnson,
Green,
yeah.
okay? And it was very well written, and they said, make it 0, okay? No square footage lot requirement, but make the restrictions on the size of the dwelling. The studio apartment, 600 square feet. A 1-bedroom apartment, 750, if I remember right. A 2-bedroom, a little bit bigger. But allow the developer to decide what kind of units to put up based on what kind of money they got. So this is not a unique proposition you're saying, what you're saying. It's been given to us in written form as a recommendation, yes.
It is, Jack,
Can I-
you, go ahead.
I just want to get a couple of things I'd like to see in B1, because there was a couple things from B3 that I did like. I'm just going to say them, get them in the minutes, and then you guys can keep talking. B1, I don't believe in B3, but I might be corrected, front and side setbacks to be removed in B1.
You don't have any.
Okay, just checking. Add a 15-foot rear setback, do we have that?
There is,
Yes.
Okay, I'm just checking with the
No, keep
attorney.
going, Jim, keep going.
Yeah, checking with the attorney, if that's allowed. Right now, we have a max height in the law of 45, 45?
In the proposed new law?
in the proposal, yeah,
45.
45. I would say we could try to go to 48 if we could, so that you can try to get the 412s
Okay.
per floor. Max height, if they want to go high, no, if they want to go put a thatched roof on there or whatever else they want to do, they got to go to the zoning board for it. Max height would be 48. I also like to see some caveats put in there, depending on when we do get to figure out what do we want as the lot area for square footage, when we do figure whatever that number is, because that sounds like it's going to be a Red Robin conversation. I'd like to see caveats, whatever the word is, the legal definition you want to use, that the folks who are investing into these projects have to meet minimum standards. What are the minimum standards? We need to address parking, the one-for-one parking that the planning board currently does. Do they provide stormwater for the project?
Yeah, they would.
I want it on the record and I want it in the law. And then you could talk after I'm done. Water and sewer. Is water and sewer being provided on the project? Are they tying into the municipal? Will the municipal portion need to be updated in order to facilitate the project?
Okay,
Okay?
okay. I'm just saying that
Yep.
that's usually a secret determination.
I want the planning board to be empowered to be able to make sure that it's part of the proposal.
Okay.
Okay?
Jim, shouldn't you be talking to us?
Nope,
not
I'm talking to the
her
attorney.
directly? But that's what
It's a
you
work
want
session.
her-
It's
that's
a
what
work
you want
session,
her to
Melanie. I
put
just
down?
want to get this out and then we can all
But
be
we're
each
not-
other
Go
up.
ahead, Jim.
So you want.
Don't
Like I
let's
said,
do it
parking,
on for an
like I
hour.
said, parking,
Yeah.
Give me a break.
the parking, one for one.
Yeah, you said that.
Snow storage on the,
Sure.
on the project, if they're, they have to show it on the map.
Right,
And delivery/loading.
okay.
Whatever the commercial development is, needs to have that in order to get whatever the square foot number we come up with, whether it's 0, 500, 600, 850, 1250. And if it doesn't, then maybe we break up the square footage. In the perfect world, I'd say we break it up. Maybe we have a low number and a higher number. And if they don't meet these requirements, they automatically get kicked to the higher number. Maybe we could come up with something like that. I don't know if that's possible.
You left out garbage collection.
No, I didn't. I put, you're right. You're right, Mr. Carroll. Garbage collection.
And an architectural design.
That was my last
Oh, you
portion.
have that?
Yeah.
No.
Well, I don't want an architectural review board. But maybe there's some teeth that we could give the planning board that the project fits in with the historic downtown.
Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah.
You could create design guidelines and make a ministerial process by the
Yeah.
planning board with some discretion.
To some discretion. Would be my vision. Now, the conversation about the square footage is probably the scariest number we have to come up with, because we hear all this different stuff, 23,008, and all this stuff, and then it could be 700, 800, 900,000. So I would probably recommend we try somehow to have two different numbers. Again, this is just free talking, if it's possible. And if one doesn't meet the requirements that we have, the stringent requirements that we have, that automatically gets kicked to the higher number. I don't know, I'm asking.
Okay, I think there's many ways to do this. Certainly, you could pick a number, 1250, 850, whatever. Or, and combine with a height. Or, you could pick 0, but you're strict, right now, you're talking about 48 feet. So that's, 50 feet is probably 3.5 stories. It just depends.
Right.
So you could maybe go to 50 feet. That's 3.5 stories. But however many, and you have retail on the bottom if it's along Main Street, 100% on the bottom. No square footage requirement, but, you can have like a minimum dwelling unit size, but it's really up to the developer. As long as they meet the minimum, they can get as many apartments in there as they want, but they have to meet parking, they have to meet stormwater, they have to meet all of these, because that is something that you can put it in the local law, but it's also something that the planning board would review in detail during site plan.
Correct.
Under secret.
Yes.
Okay, so you could also say in your local law, for example, and I'd have to think about this, but you can probably address some seeker issues in your local law.
Right.
Definitely parking.
Right.
Right, so for example, so that's one way to do it. Okay, so that's really two ways. Either you decide height and density, or height and no density. But, all these other things. The other thing you could do, and I'll just throw this out for your consideration, is the board could create a floating zone that would be floating amongst B1. And let's say someone wants to build something in B1. this floating zone would have various densities, etc. They would come to the village board, they would petition to have that floating zone attached to their property. The village board would then go through the requirements, probably along with some incentives, like parking, et cetera. And you could structure that so that the more they provide to the village, maybe the more density they get.
Is that incentive zoning?
It's
Nope.
not really incentive zoning, it's a floating zone that would have incentives, so
Nope.
it's kind of the difference there, though.
The only thing I don't like about that is that it can get political fast with that scenario.
Correct.
It could.
That could get really swampy.
And then the other question I have for you.
That's just one other way.
Yeah, it is a legitimate way to do it.
Yeah.
It just, I think for me would be, it could be too political too quick, because we're too small.
Mr. General said that in one of his talks
I don't know
a
if we-
couple of months ago. It's like, giving that kind of leeway and arbitrary decision-making to people like us. I think it's like,
Well,
yeah,
it's
it would be
not
horrible.
necessarily,
I
it's not
think Mr.
necessarily arbitrary, though.
It is kind of.
You
it
would
is
have.
I think Mr. General was talking about incentivized zoning at the time.
Correct, that's
Okay, he
right.
wasn't talking about a float zone, so I
That's-
don't know
it's
what that
similar.
comment was.
It's similar.
So my point is now that we've kind of put that off to the side, we're not-
Okay, so nobody's interested in that? Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
so,
Yeah, I don't think so.
that, I laid out what my suggestions would be. Again, we'd have to talk about whether we're gonna, again, I like the two, have a lower number and then a higher number, and if they don't meet certain criteria, they automatically get triggered to the higher.
So that criteria would be what, providing, for example, more parking?
Right. Yeah.
Okay,
If they can provide more parking and there's anything of the main items that I discussed, if they provide more or show more, then they can get, the only
I have a question
incentive
about
is to get the lower number.
So, Jim, this is the problem with you talking to the attorney, telling her what you want in there, instead of talking to us and talking to us about what you want her to write in there. So let me ask what you were
Sure,
mean
go ahead,
by
ask me a
parking.
question.
So right now, what it is that you need 1.5 parking per dwelling unit. That's the current law.
No, I think it's
Is
one
it
for
1
one.
to 1?
1.5 for the apartment building per dwelling unit would
Right.
be 2.
Right.
Okay, 1.5 parking
Apartment building
spaces.
is 1.5.
Okay,
Right.
so one apartment building, you need 1.5 parking spaces.
No, that's
Mi-
an
mi-
apartment.
Is that what you just said?
Mr. Ray.
That's in.
Hang on,
that's in
let
the
me
R5.
explain.
That's
Well,
in-
let her ask the question.
I'm sorry,
She wants to ask the question, ask.
1.5 parking spaces per apartment is the
It
current?
actually reads apartment building. but
Okay,
For the
yeah, but
building.
it means apartment, right?
Yes.
okay, all right.
Need
That's
to
the way
correct
it
that.
reads in the
So it
code.
doesn't matter how big the apartment, it could be a 3-bedroom apartment, all you need is a 1.5 parking spaces. Is that right? Yes? Very good. And if you're a hotel, you need 1 parking space per hotel room. Correct? Okay. So when you say, Jim, that you're willing to compromise a little bit on something, if they provide parking, is that parking outside of those requirements?
I made my comments.
I don't know what you mean.
All right, so
Ask for clarification to the attorney.
subsection,
Not from me. That's what I said. And not for
This is
nothing,
this is
Mr.
a
Arrow,
ridiculous
you and
workshop.
Mr. Ramos have been talking for 40 minutes straight, so with maps and everything. So don't tell me about talking to her or you or whatever. I can't get a
You
word in
can't even
edgewise.
explain.
You interrupt everybody, nobody could get it. I said what I wanted to say.
Explain what you mean.
The only thing I wanted to talk about was the
Jim,
last
I'm
item,
not
which was the
fighting
square
with you, I
footage.
just want you to explain
Yes, you
what
are,
mean.
Mr. Arrow, and it's fine. I have no problem with
Can
healthy
you ask the
discussion.
planning board, please, the village board?
Yes, yes.
So-
Can I ask?
so the
Can I
sub,
ask the planning board?
so the subsection 240-42, schedule of off-street parking, right out of the book.
Yes.
Single and two-family dwellings, 2 per unit. Townhouse development, 2 per dwelling unit. Condominium development, 2 per dwelling unit. Apartment building, 1.5 per dwelling unit.
It doesn't matter what zone, so if
Mixed-use
it's an
development.
R3, yeah,
What is the
right,
mixed-use
mixed use is
development?
B1, I'm only asking
One for one.
B1.
Thank you.
And
This
there's
requires,
an exception right now, you don't even need parking.
Correct.
Yeah, that we need to get rid of
Yes.
for
Which is why I
residential,
just said it's for one for one.
which is in this local law,
Correct.
the proposed local law.
I'm not giving up anything.
All right.
So-
Eric, you have anything?
Yeah, so I think Jim's point right there about that is probably right to proceed the conversation about density because just simply using a calculator is disingenuous. There's no possible way with a rear setback, with required parking, and you need to do snow storage, garbage, you need to have hallways and utilities in your building that you could achieve that density. So you need to figure out if there's gonna be minimum parking, which we encourage. I think everybody in this room probably thinks that needs to be there. So we will require them to have parking. We do those things.
One for one.
We handed you, by the way, we already make everybody tell us snow storage, where the garbage cans are gonna be, and that. All that stuff plays into, first of all, making it a good building for its community, and it inherently reduces the density. So, just to correct Melanie, we actually give you two options that we think would work. Option one was when we were going with numbers, we said 850,
Yes,
right? And a height. Option two is,
0.
but it's not zero because we set minimum dwelling unit sizes in.
Right, 0
height
and dwelling,
and that.
yeah, uh-huh.
Any discussion about like zero and letting the planning board negotiate is bad.
Yes.
I mean, this is a completely shared thing,
Mhm.
right? You guys are gonna pass a law,
Right,
we're gonna do this, and anyone that wants to go outside that law has to go to Jack's court. And
Yes.
that's how it should be. If we did anything like that, it would make the planning board, you know, the super board, and it shouldn't be that way.
Right.
So,
the planning board or the zoning board?
the planning board
The
would be
planning
if
board.
you allowed them to just basically negotiate with
Yeah.
developers to do that.
Okay,
The
Well,
plan is
actually,
here.
I meant with the village board.
No, I know,
Voting
but there was even discussions at times like, could the planning board decide based
Oh.
on the plan?
but Eric, you had a third option, I think you sent us another email saying you were back to 850.
No, we
That's a
said
third
you could
option.
do either, and you could put either in the code, but
Yeah.
we think there should be a minimum,
Yeah,
right?
oh, okay.
Either the minimum is apartment sizes,
Mm-hmm.
because other people have suggested smaller
Yes.
apartment sizes, or whatever, it should be apartment sizes.
750
Or-
is the minimum. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, but we listed by type, actually.
Right,
Yeah.
Okay.
Studio, one
That
bedroom,
was
two
only-
bedroom,
that was less
bedroom,
than
correct.
So, my point is, if we put that together and then you look at a property like the one we're talking about, where the Penn Fed used to be, then it is not high density. You know, we start going too low, and if we don't have a parking requirement, then we do have problems. But,
Yeah.
listen, the solution is here, right?
So I have the parking requirement, as mentioned, 1-to-1, okay? And then the maybe 0 square footage requirement, but dwelling square footage requirements, okay? But that does not alleviate the question that everybody seemed to have put up today, which I really did not consider, which is B1 is not just one parcel B, but many parcels B. So if you actually make B1 23 acres, yeah, it may be a problem, so I don't know.
I need to say something. So Eric just explained to us, all of us, and we hope that you understood it, that it is impossible with the parking requirements and all the setback requirements and everything else to get 22 acres times X amount, 1,700 units. It is impossible, okay?
Yeah.
This community is 300 years old, and we are still not built out with the previous requirements.
Yeah,
So Your concern about 22 acres is impossible to.
Yeah, so what do you guys think of
So,
that?
wait.
That's their argument on
Wait,
that.
wait,
Is that it's not really reality.
we have come here before and asked you to adopt the town apartment sizes. Studio, one bedroom, two bedroom, three bedroom. And that still doesn't come up and it hasn't been done. We go months and months and
Okay,
months.
Jim, that's what we're doing here, we're trying to figure that out. So, guys, okay, what they're saying is that you shouldn't be afraid of that number of 23 acres of B1 being very, very dense, because that's probably not gonna happen in anybody's lifetime, okay? That's what they're saying, especially if you give these restrictions about parking, snow storage, and everything else, that's not gonna happen. So based on what their arguments are you accepting of that 0 square footage requirements with dwelling requirements instead for B1?
I would like Jack to speak, and I would like Ed to speak, because Ed's on the board also. So you guys are trying to make decisions with two voices now. We've come here to try to help.
Wait a minute, Jim, that's not accurate.
Yeah.
I started with Eric, and I was gonna work my way
Okay,
down.
I'm sorry, Joe.
You know,
I apologize.
Well, you don't have to
And
apologize,
listen,
but
any engineer can take that lot that we're talking about
Jack, you're next, okay?
and just put
Try to
the
keep it like 5
restrictions on it,
minutes, if you can.
put a 48-story building there, and see how many you can fit in.
48-story or
48
Foot. No, it's all right, it's all right.
I feel in the world of 48-story buildings.
Yeah.
But, listen, put the 48-foot building
Yep.
there, put those restrictions on it, try to fit the parking lot on the lot, and you will see that the actual density, what it is. And I don't know what it is, because I didn't do that calculation, but you will find that that meets the community character.
I'm saying the same thing, but Jack does not feel that way.
No, look, I'm going to speak a little longer. Last meeting, I talked about a village in South Illinois that had density that was 2,800 higher than ours. Out of curiosity, we've also been compared to Annapolis, Maryland, because the Naval Academy is there. Out of curiosity, I looked at them. That's the state capital. It's a city, not a village. But they have 3 different zoning districts: residential, business, and a C, which is a commercial. In most of their districts, most of them, the density is 18, not, in some of them it's 1,800. In some of the districts in the capital of Maryland, the density is 3,600. The height, almost everywhere except in the core of the city, is 35 feet. You know, so we're talking about a whole lot of other things. The claim that all of these properties in B1 would not be developed, I'll go back to what I said a couple weeks ago. KJ, they can buy each one of those lots and start putting stuff. That's where the threat would come to the village. Going to 0, I've got a real problem with that. Here's why. You're going to have all of these restrictions: snow, garbage, trash. You're going to have what are some of the other parking, all of these things. Okay, density is a very abstract concept. When you're talking about height or setbacks or lot size and stuff like that, people can kind of visualize it. It's hard to visualize density, it's abstract. But it does provide for all of the common areas that you need. Parking for the customers, for the employees, for the residents of the apartments, snow storage, trash storage, lobbies, hallways, elevators, required fire escapes if they needed. All of these kinds of things are kind of encompassed in density. If you throw away density and go to 0, then I see that people will start nibbling around the edges and they'll say, oh, well, give me a variance on parking, or give me a variance on height, or give me a variance on apartment size. Or maybe they'll ask for all 4 or 5 or 6 of these things. That's going to be totally unmanageable for the ZBA to try to figure out a fair balance if you go to that. Keep the density in the code, not go to 0. So that's my big message here. But the other is, again, we are a small village that could be taken over, and then all of these questions will go away because this whole board and everybody else will get voted out, and we will just be gone. You got to set it reasonably. Maybe you can't get all, if you set it at 12, this proposal here would cut double the number of apartments by reducing it from 2,500 to 1,250. 850 would triple the number of apartments. 1,200 I think is too low, but if that's what the board wants, that's fine. But if you go any further than that, you're going to create all kinds of problems down the road. I highly recommend that you think this through very carefully. 0, in my opinion, is out. It's going to be a nightmare for the zoning board, for the planning board probably, just because everybody, well, just give me a break here, give me a break on that, and it's going to, no, that's just not going to work. So the board has got to make a decision. They got a proposal for 1,250. What's wrong with that? Isn't that enough for the developers who want to make something out of this village? Come on. It's twice as many as are allowed now. And they can always ask for variances around the edges. I mean, if they need one more apartment to make it come out, something like that, we can handle that. But, going to this very high density, 850, without a seeker or anything else is going to be a real problem for the village. So that's my input on this. Density there's a reason we have it. In fact, it's the village code on the general provisions. One of the reasons we have it is the density of the population. And again, let me read the purpose of the zoning code. This is 240-3. This chapter is adopted for the purpose of promoting the health, safety, morals, get that, and the general welfare of the community, and in furtherance of the following are related and more specific objectives. A, to guide and regulate the orderly growth, development, and redevelopment of the municipality in accordance with the comp plan and the long-term objectives, principles, and standards deemed beneficial to the interest and welfare of the people. That's great. To protect the established character and the social and economic well-being of private and public property. We're not talking about just Main Street or just the business district. It's everybody in the community. And if you go to high density, as I pointed out before, that's going to put a lot of more demands on the tax base. And who pays for that? The people in the residential districts. So why, if you go to high density, you're going to be screwing the people in the residential districts? Jim, you're shaking your head.
That's not true, Jack.
It is
not true, Jack.
I know.
You have
no argument, come on. No argument.
It's my turn.
Okay.
Read the comp plan. To promote in the public interest the utilization of land for the purpose for which it is most appropriate, and I apologize when the user should. To secure safety from fire, panic, and other dangers, and to provide adequate light, air, and convenience of access. To prevent overcrowding the land or buildings and to avoid undue concentration of population. F, to lessen and where possible to prevent traffic congestion on public streets and highways. G, to eliminate non-conforming uses gradually. H, to conserve the value of the buildings and to enhance the value of the land throughout the municipality. And I, to conserve and reasonably to protect the natural, scenic, and beauty of the municipality and its environment. In other words, we have a village. The people have voted to have a village, not become part of the town. We don't want to be a city. How do we remain this unique, beautiful village that we have here without giving it all away? That's what the village board has to decide here. And again, we are under threat for hostile takeover. How do we keep our village, yet allow for some reasonable development? I say 1,250 is given away more than enough, and I hope that the board will consider that.
Thank you, Jack. Ed?
All right, with respect to what Jimmy said before, what he laid out in the beginning, the conditions that you have to meet, they're non-negotiable. Well now, if you have enough square footage to build, let's say 40 apartments, but you don't have enough parking for 40 apartments, you're going to have to decrease the amount of apartments you have to meet the criteria that is set forth in the law. Now, within the village of Highland Falls, there's only room for like 1,300 bedrooms. That's it, that's the amount of water we have. You can't go beyond that. You can't create a megalopolis out of Highland Falls because we don't have the facilities. We don't have the infrastructure. All right, so this is basically what is going to guide you, and it's what's going to limit you from blowing this thing up into, like he's talking, a Curious Joel. It's not going to be a Curious Joel. It can be, but what are they going to do? They're going to pump water from the river, purify it, and then put it into the village? You're talking mega millions, and there's not enough real estate. Where they are now, they got tremendous amounts of real estate. We don't have the real estate. We don't have the real estate for parks, recreation. We don't have the real estate for parking. We don't have any of that real estate. It's a small community, and we want to develop it out the best way we can. So, basically, I believe what we put together was like 850 square feet, and I believe if you take up that, you're talking Upper Afghanistan or whatever the hell you're talking about up there, it's an acre, but if you divide it out with parking and everything, it's only going to give you like 46 units above your business area. Because you're not going to have, you have to have room for parking. You have to have your infrastructure. And another thing that we talked about also was with the developer coming in. Well, okay, we need more capacity at the water plant. It's going to cost you X amount of dollars to help develop that capacity. And we're going to need something at the sewage treatment plant. You're going to need to help develop the capacity in the sewage treatment plant. This can't go, and you can't go and just give the farm away. That's why you have to have a criteria that we have to live by and we have to work by. So you can't let us run with reckless abandon, which we wouldn't do anyway. But you have to establish that criteria. So that when somebody comes in to develop, say, this is what I got, well, okay, it might not fit this way. You have too many bedrooms. You have to, you are not going to be able to sustain the infrastructure. And that is actually the point that we were trying to make all along. But you are the board, you have to make the decision. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
So, the snow storage, Mr. Mayor?
What's that?
The snow storage that everybody's been talking about, this was a requirement that has been on a lot of plans, as well as parking. These particular parcels have been built out again, and that was probably 15 years ago that it was required. Now when I drive by it, the snow storage area that was supposed to be striped is now a parking spot. So the area that was supposed to be a garbage area is now a parking area. It's something that we have to make sure the building department's going to have teeth to go up and look at these maps. And 10 years from now, they need to look at that map and say, wait a minute, how come you're parking where there's snow storage? Or where there was a no parking area? So, to say that we can put all of the snow storage and the parking as a requirement, sometimes it might not work. As far as stormwater, and I was at the flood resiliency presentation, that was a good presentation by Mr. Hahn and Jessica. They also talked about the flooding that we have had here. And we've just seen the devastation of Helene that came through, and the other one that was up in Connecticut. We really, until we actually put it in our book about stormwater management, the lot that Rick has, and he put 7 lots together, is just under an acre. So there is no requirement for stormwater. But we can put in a requirement for stormwater because we can make more teeth into that New York State code about that. So that should be something that we think about, because once we start building on these lots and all the parking that's required, and we only have a 15-foot setback where there'll be some green space, which is fine. If that's what we want, let's do it. But maybe we should think about some other kind of stormwater management when they exceed 60% of the lot with pavement and building, that they would have to address some stormwater somehow, some way. Because we had 2 inches of rain probably less than a month ago, and the drains that come right next to McDonald's were overflowing tremendously. And albeit it went away quick, but the point is, if we start to build all this out, that water's gotta go somewhere, and our infrastructure can't handle it now.
All right,
So
so
that-
continue over here, Jim.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I need to continue. Ed, Jim?
I would just like to say that what we need to do is try to encourage development in this community. We're 50 years old, nothing's been built on Main Street. 2,500, 1,250, these are ridiculous numbers. There is no requirement for density. I disagree with Jack. Jack's a great guy. And everybody has the best intentions of this community in mind, but I feel that with little information and providing the board with this information, it confuses the facts. The facts are that with a number of units, as Mr. Dunn said, the number of units is defined by the square footage of each one, and an architect would specifically identify what his recommendation is. When you add all that in with the common area, you're never going to get to the density numbers that you guys are thinking about, number one. Number two, we have a height and we have a width and the actual lot size. That's all you really need, people. But if you feel that it's necessary to put something on paper, please don't go with the 1250. Cut that in half again at 650. And I am 1,000% sure that it is going to affect little or nothing in this community.
All right.
One second, Joe. The idea of stormwater management, I understand Mr. Ramus is concerned. This is done in multiple areas throughout this country. They store rainwater in the basement and allow it to dissipate into the sewer system through a 4-inch pipe. So you will store a 200-year storm in a container in the basement and allow it to, and in fact, I think it's a requirement now in every new development, number one. And I just want to go back to Jack's taxes thing. That, Jack, you're misinformed on this. I respect you very much, but if your property is valued properly by our community or someone else, you're going to get the same amount of taxes, if not more, than a residential unit.
Okay.
So our code book has minimum residential floor area, it's 240-37. So that's something that we need to look at and change, obviously, if we're gonna change it. Single, two-family detached was 1,200. Single family prior was only 850 to 2019. Townhouse development, 1,200. Apartments, 750. Mobile homes, 500. And speaking about parking, I find it odd that we require 2 spaces for a condo unit, and we're only going to require 1 for an apartment. And it doesn't make sense to me, because right now in the code it says 1.5 for an apartment. So why are we going to 1, but we're still going to make condos have 2? I mean, if they make condos and they have to have 2, it doesn't make sense.
It is confusing.
Right, so that's something that we should also look at. I mean, there's just so much in this book that once we start to scratch the surface here that we really need to look at. I mean, parking in front yards. There's certain things in this book that say you can park in a front yard. Seniors, right? If they put a senior, if they put a senior.
You can't park on grass, you can't park on, and they're doing it.
Right, no. I'm talking about making your parking area in the front yard. And then there's other sections of the code that say you can't park in the front yard. Now, true, we have a very thin lot. So do we allow parking in the front yard? Because this way, that if a developer wanted to come in and actually utilize this from side yard to side yard, because there are no setbacks there, they could push their building back and park in the front. Is that what we want on Main Street? You know, which could work. Because if not, then they're going to have to somehow shave off at least 12 to 18 feet for somehow to get to the back to park there. And we have very thin lots in the village. So, you know, I could go on, and I know, Mr. Mayor, I know you want to go, but I have a lot.
No, it's not that I want to go, but that's not what tonight is for. We were doing Tonight was just for zoning, which I think I hope we all agree to. It was for height and square footage. I think we achieved 2 out of the 3, I think. I don't know.
No,
You
this
have
is
a
all,
lot of-
this is all zoning now. This is
I
zoning.
know, Jim, I know, Jim. Okay, we're, correct me, someone here, we're probably not, we can't change anything that's going to be presented Monday night. We have to go with what,
I think at this point, I'm
Yeah.
not hearing,
yeah,
I'm not hearing anything definitive to be changed.
to be changed.
I
Okay.
mean, unless the board votes definitively to change the density, the height, then that's a true statement. Unless the board says, okay, let's take a vote, who wants 1250, who wants 850, who wants 0? And if 3 of you can decide on one number, that can be changed tonight. If you all decide it should be 48 feet, that can be changed tonight. But if you don't all decide, or at least a majority, then I can't make these changes, and what you'll be looking at on Monday is this local law, this proposed local law.
So if changes are made tonight, that means it has to go back out to the county, and then they
I have
have,
not yet sent it to the county.
oh, it hasn't gone there yet?
No, because the county needs to see the last,
The one for tonight, I forgot.
this local law. The county needs to see what you're actually gonna adopt.
Right, so we didn't send them this draft yet, right?
No.
No.
Perfect. And so that's great. So should we go below the 1250? Now, is that going to trigger a scoping document done by the village? Because the required infrastructure, PD, fire, schools, EMT, et cetera, especially the traffic too, because we're gonna have more traffic. So when does it going to trigger a scoping document done by the village when we change
Well,
this?
I think what you're not really talking about a scoping document, you're talking about what's necessary to comply with seeker. And under seeker, you have to identify the potential impacts that are significant.
Part 2, correct? Part 2? Part 2 of the
No,
law?
I'm just talking about seeker.
Okay.
So if you're reducing at 1250, you're doubling your density. That's going to have an impact that, in my opinion, and I would want to talk to your village engineer, you at least have to study water, okay? And any potential impact to the sewer treatment plant. Water and sewer, I mean, you can address drainage. You can address drainage on a site specific, just like you can address, right?
Okay.
But if the village is going to double the density or triple the density, or have even greater density, and you're gonna have to look at least at water and sewer. Does that mean you need an entire EIS and a scoping? No, I don't think so. Because each project in and of itself will require secret.
Traffic studies.
Yeah, I mean,
Jim, can I say this? In 2020, when you, Mr. DeSalvo and Mr. D'Onofrio passed that local law number 1, 2020, February, to create B3 with 350 square feet minimum lot requirement, you had a SECRA that had a negative declaration. So if you are going to 850, why is that different 4 years later? Why would you have to do it all over again? If you had a negative declaration SECRA 4 years ago at 350, why would you need to spend a lot of time with SECRA at 850 or 650?
can I just answer that like one more time?
Yes.
That was a mistake.
It was not a
It was-
mistake. You keep lying, stop lying.
Whoa, whoa,
Stop
whoa,
lying.
whoa.
Yes, yes, no, not
Okay.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
Is there any,
You're
yeah,
lying.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
No, stop lying.
the only-
I have
Such a
such
headache from your
Right
person.
now, by the
Here it
way,
is.
it's 2,500.
She's nuts.
Right.
Just-
Let me ask you something, is there anyone here
that?
is there anyone here
The only
that
mo-
wants to propose any changes?
The only mo-
It's
for
a
this
dead
document?
issue, but, it's a dead
Okay,
issue,
is
but I
there
don't
any-
like
is there
it when
any
you guys
proposal?
lie to the
You
public.
be-
like
That's
this.
what I said.
Okay, tell me what you want to, say what you want to change.
48 feet height, 48 feet. No restrictions on the square footage. And that we come up with the apartment sizes, like we said, 600, 750, I think it was 9.
What the planning board is recommending.
Yeah, yeah, and we come up with that.
Okay,
I'd like to vote on that tonight.
all right. There's a motion. You
Well,
have something you want to
You're
question?
asking everybody what they
Well,
want, so
wait,
that's not what he wanted.
Well, I'm just saying, I would break them out, like, I'll make a motion for the 48 foot. That's fine.
But what about density?
We can, one at a time. Again, I just want, I want to make sure that the two comments I had, which everyone said they're already in there, which was to remove the front and side setbacks and B1 are already there, and the 15-foot rear is there.
Well, vote on 48.
So the only,
All right,
Height 48.
so the motion I would make would be in the B1, which is currently 50, according to this?
50 or 60?
It says 50
You're 60.
to 48,
Okay, so, all right,
because right now it says 40. I'm gonna mark this paper.
okay.
I believe Pete Carroll will make a second
Yes.
on that one.
Second that.
And are we,
You want to vote on that?
Yeah, I take a vote.
okay, yeah.
Roll call.
Can I ask, because right now in the introductory local law, it's 40 feet. So
Right, I
we're
wanna
gonna
put it
go
to 48.
And then plus a 5.
No, just
No,
the,
no, what it
48.
says?
yeah,
Just
48 foot max height, that's
Max
my,
Gotcha, okay.
Roll call.
that's my motion.
No
Trustee
discussion
Guerrero?
on this?
Yeah,
Yes,
Go ahead, Jim.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Go
no,
ahead.
48 feet, that's reasonable. That's just one motion. Once, at least we get something decided on tonight. 48
That's
feet
why,
height, that's it.
that can be at least 4 stories above the ground, above the commercial, because it can.
No, just total
No,
height of the
48.
building.
total, max height.
So
That
I
would
have,
include ground level
correct.
plus whatever.
So I have renderings, and I tried to show them to everybody, but nobody wants to look at them, that shows that you can get 3 stories and 29 feet, minimum. It can happen. There are architects out there, but it can happen.
On 48 feet.
So at 48 feet, that is 6 stories.
It's not 6 stories.
6 stories.
I
not safe.
don't know, I never
It
said.
incorporates a roof system in it. Okay, so-
Flat roof.
I mean, you would have utilities on, you could have.
No,
like-
max height, 48.
And what
If they
about-
want to put a cube up, they gotta go get a variance.
No, I know, but don't you put,
Parapets.
HVAC?
What about parapets for architectural?
okay.
Does
so-
that exclude
so-
You know,
those?
So you're talking about 48 feet period, but what about like HVAC and elevator?
It's not my problem.
They do get around it.
It's not my problem.
They can do the elevator.
That's the engineer's problem, that's the planning board's problem, and if they
So
want to hire it,
even-
it's the zoning board's problem.
So if this is the roof line.
Correct.
There's an
You're over
elevator
48 feet.
shaft,
You need a
That
variance,
counts.
yeah.
That's right.
They need a variance.
Max height, 48.
All right, I have a motion on
If they
the,
want to do a parapet, they need a variance.
all right, I have a motion on the
Is that
floor,
okay? I think that's reasonable.
right?
48.
You have it, can you read it back?
Motion for 48-foot height maximum.
including
Requirement.
all rooftop, anything on the rooftop. I don't know how else.
Maximum height, that's it.
It's just
Maximum-
max height.
In the B1 zone?
Yeah.
Maximum height.
Okay, roll call.
Trustee Guerrero?
Yes,
Trustee Ramus?
No.
Trustee Carroll?
Yes.
Trustee DeSalvo?
Yes.
Mayor Janakri?
Yes, motion carries, thank you. All right, do you want to tackle the, what, Jim? No, go ahead.
Next one.
Do we want to address the height in B2 that we have going from 60 to 40?
maybe just be one today, it's already 9:30.
Well, I would just recommend we put it to the same. It's in here. Reduce the height maximum feet column B2 highway commercial from 60 to 40, it's in here. I would just make it the same for right now.
Motion.
Make a motion, we have the maximum height again in B2, similar to B1, be 48 feet, from 60 to 48.
Second.
Roll call.
Trustee Guerrero.
No. I think it should be higher in B2.
Trustee Ramus.
No.
Trustee Carroll.
Yes.
Trustee DeSalvo.
Yes.
And Mayor Denofrio.
Yes, motion carries, thank you. All right, that's the zoning.
No, that's
I mean, the
not.
height, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the only thing that's left is the square footage.
Are we prepared to do the zoning?
This is the zone.
That was
Hold on.
zoning.
The
Okay.
only
That
part
was
of,
zoning, and.
the only part of the zone change we haven't looked at is the square footage. And
Okay.
maybe,
Okay.
I think we've heard a slew of numbers
Well, I want
from
to,
zip,
I want to make
Hold
a
on.
motion.
if I can just talk, and then you can make us 50 motions. We've heard from 0 to 1250. So maybe we need to hear a little bit more from the
We're
public
gonna hear it Monday.
on
That'll
Monday.
be it.
And then we may need to have one more,
Yep, one more of these.
maybe, I don't know.
Jim,
We
you
may
have
be
a
able to
motion?
vote on this.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion. I don't think it's fair that a condo has to have 2 spaces and an apartment only has to have 1.
All right, we'll make the
At the
motion.
very minimum, it should be 1.5 spaces. Because when I go down Main Street for the past 4 mornings at 4 o'clock in the morning, there's anywhere from 25 to 35 or 40 cars parked on Main Street where they're not supposed to be.
Jim, I can't make that a motion. Can you give us your motion? What's the motion?
So I would like to make a motion that we require a minimum of 1.5 spaces per unit.
For apartments?
Per apartment unit, per unit.
That's currently the
Don't we
requirement for
already
mixed
have
use.
that?
In what
Okay,
zone?
let's don't-
In the B1 zone, Mr. DeSalvo wanted 1.
I
And that's
didn't,
what
I
it
didn't
said.
make a motion to change it to 1. If that's what it is, then
All right, so.
Well, I'll make
so
a
in
motion to
B1 and
solidify it.
B2?
you want to make a motion to keep it the same law?
Are you sure it's 1.5?
I don't know, you got the book. You tell me.
Okay, you have a motion, correct?
Yeah.
You have it, Heidi?
Yes, sir. Minimum
Do I have a
1.5 spaces per apartment unit.
Per apartment.
In the B zone?
The
B1.
B1
In
and
the
B2.
B1.
B1 zone.
What about B2?
It's his motion.
What
In
is
the B- in the
what
B-
is it now?
in
What
the
is it now? I thought it was,
We thought it was 1.
I think
The
it's
plan which everyone's telling us is 1, that's why we'd like to see 1.5.
No developer can achieve what we're setting out before, and now we're making it even more restrictive.
There's a motion. Do I have a second?
now remember, this local law eliminates the no parking, eliminates the parking-free municipal parking zone for residential.
Right, so right now, in the B1, you have no, if I'm correct, help me here,
If you're in the parking exempt zone, you don't have to.
which is, yeah, the parking exempt zone is quite large, actually.
Yeah, it is,
It's too big.
yeah.
So I don't know what Mr. Ramos's motion is. I think he said, I don't know if it's the entire B1 or if it's the park-free zone. If he's talking about the park-free zone, and he wants to go 1.5, I would recommend to amend the motion to 1, since it's nothing now. So we're going from 0 to 1.
Jim, can we just make sure we know what the current law is before we make a motion?
It's 0.
Because, well, that's actually not how it is. Like in 427 Main, I was required, because I had 2 apartments, to have 3 parking spaces. So 1.5 parking spaces per unit, okay? So that hasn't changed. Now, there are certain B1 zones, which is from Cousins to Mountain Avenue, where they have exempted those residential parking requirements. That was not exempted in the B3 zone when I was in B3 building, okay? So I would, maybe we need to clarify what the exact parking requirements
So,
are.
number one,
Right now-
number one, I have a motion on the table.
Okay, but
This is no way to run a
I
meeting.
know, but I think
There's
we're not
discussion.
sure
If
what
you
the
want-
current law
this
is.
is, the
Discussion.
current law is this, in residential uses. Single and two-family dwellings, 2 per unit. Townhouse, 2 per unit. Condominium, 2 per unit. Apartment building, 1.5. And under this current law that you have in front of you, the exemption in the center of the village, the exemption for parking is taken away from residential use. So if you're gonna put apartments in the center of the village, you have to have 1.5 per dwelling unit, per apartment. If it's commercial, you still get that exemption. So if
So if
someone
I'm just
builds,
putting a restaurant up with no apartments on top,
yeah,
you don't have to worry about parking.
if you're in that exempt zone, which
Right.
is pretty much the center of the village.
Okay. So
Okay.
the second they want residential, they need 1.5.
What do you wanna do, Jim?
Well,
1.5 to 2,
So I stand corrected, it's 1.5,
right.
so we don't have to make the motion to make it 1.5, because it already is.
So the motion by trustee Remus is to
Withdrawn.
rescind.
Withdrawn.
That's what it
One at
says.
some places.
I don't see
No.
that.
I think it's,
Hotel is one to
It's,
one.
it's.
yeah, the one was just the hotel room.
For a lodging
Which is
house,
going with
it's
B3.
one per lodger, but you don't really have lodging houses.
Well,
You're not supposed to.
that was a whole other 6-month conversation, don't even
Yeah.
mention
So-
the larger.
All right.
And just one last quick thing that we just need to do our homework on, and not up for discussion right now, is the short-term rentals in this business district that we're gonna create. At the very least, short-term rentals, and I will bring you a draft of some other municipalities that have it. At the very least, they should have to register.
I don't think they're allowed in the village of Highland Park.
Well, but
Short-term rental.
Well, but that's why I want to give in the code, truly written out, some new language that talks about Airbnb, Verbo, et cetera, et cetera. And if it is seen that somebody is renting something out on those commercial sites, then we can give them a fine, and let's set the fine. And if they don't register, I mean, if they do register, listen, hold on.
Okay.
If they do register, that's fine, this way they're registered. So we
But
can
it's not
allow,
permitted.
but we can allow for it. If it's not
Okay, so what
permitted,
you're saying is, let's permit short-term rentals
if they
No.
register.
I don't
if
think
they
you
rent.
can.
It's happening everywhere right now.
It doesn't matter.
Let's get some.
But we're not allowing it to happen, Jim.
But I think that's a big
Okay.
discussion.
Before you
That's
go
a big-
away on
If you
parking,
guys wanna stay, we
Wait, time
before
out.
you leave on parking, Jack, that's his apartment building. You should probably define what the parking requirement is for the residential portion of mixed-use buildings in B1. Because that does say apartment building.
Yeah.
I mean, shouldn't we just say, or put an asterisk includes mixed-use residential buildings?
we're not bringing this up tonight.
Yeah.
That's
Just-
just a
just
simple.
include,
that's
just
just-
include,
Let's-
Otherwise, that's gonna
Including
end up
mixed
in
use.
front of his board.
Yeah, including mixed use.
So I'm ready to end the meeting, I just wanna tell you all that downstairs, Heidi has it, is the bid opening today and the packet that VRI submitted to run the sewer plant. Please look at it. Any questions, you can call the engineer, you can call VRI, you can call Dale up at the water plant. You can, please look at it between now and next Monday. Okay?
So I will make these 2 changes. I will do that tonight. I will send Heidi the revised. It'll go up on the website. You'll have your public hearing on Monday. You'll get more input on the density, and then tell me what the density should be, and then I will send it to the county. Okay?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn,
Second.
Jimmy DeSalvo, Melanie, go.